Welcome to the special public regular meeting of August 7, 2017 for the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of this meeting was given in accordance with the Open Publics Meeting Act by the Township Clerk to the Bergen Record newspaper advertised on July 17, 2017, and this notice has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board. Once again, if there are any disability requirements, please notify us beforehand. Exit doors are on your left and your right. Please stand to salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Calamari?
Here.
Councilman Casio? Here. Councilman Sears?
Here.
Councilman Ullman?
Here.
Council President Bruno?
Here. We'll have, the Madam Mayor wants to say a few words on something, but I'd like to just go through the reading of the bills, and then the minutes and the report of the mayor and council will be next meeting. So let's just go through the reading of the bills first.
The following is a list of bills paid since the last bill list was submitted representing July 15, 2017 through July 31st, 2017. Total 2016 reserves, $0. Total 2017 current, $416,933.78. Total capital fund, $0. Total animal control, $0. Total trust fund, $609.20.
Any questions? Anybody? No? Thank you.
Just one
Yep.
question. Paramus, they have a shade tree commission. I see that we paid for some tree removal, and I'm just wondering, does Paramus offer, or have we ever inquired about using their services for tree removal? I know we had discussed wanting to clean up behind the library and the shopping center. I think we put some budget in for that, and I was just wondering if that's something that's ever been explored.
We haven't contacted Paramus in terms of tree removal. We have other interlocal with them. But what you're referring to behind the library, our DMF cleaned all the trees out themselves and pulled everything out.
And they trimmed the trees where
They
necessary?
trimmed some, yeah, they trimmed it. They were able to do it on their own,
Okay,
this time anyway.
okay, thank you.
Okay, before we move to general public discussion, Madam Mayor, just needed a few.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two quick, very important announcements. The tax bills went out today through no fault of ours. I want you to know it had to do with change in state aid figures from the state to the school system, and then it had to go back to the state and back to the county. So you should be getting it tomorrow and every day after for a couple days. You have till August 31 to pay them. However, if you are late after August 31, okay, then your interest does revert to August 1. Okay, so it's really important that you get it in before that. If you go online and you pay online, it's there. Everything's been uploaded. If you want to call and get the amount that you owe and bring in a check or come in, you can get the amount if you don't want to wait for the one that comes in your mail. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. The second important announcement is 2017 Road Rehabilitation Program. It is starting Monday, August 14, subject to weather, of course, and the hours of construction will be 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., only weekdays, and will end before school starts. Mike Fitzpatrick Equipment Company of Oak Ridge did get the bid this year to do the roads. Now, here are the roads in this order. The order is tentative, but hopefully it'll stay that way. Hickory Street, north of Washington. Taylor Avenue. Beach Street, north of Cross. Chestnut Street, north of Washington. Clinton Avenue. Monroe Avenue, south of Washington. Walnut Street, Palm to Ridgewood. Colonial Boulevard, south of Lincoln. Mountain Avenue, Manhattan Avenue, Edison Street, Beechwood Drive, and Spice Drive. Spice Drive, however, is being paid for by Suez Water. You also, in the next few days, be getting a letter, okay, that will outline everything everybody who's in the street, anyway, will get a letter who will outline everything very specifically for you for Monday. So please make sure, any of you who are in those streets, who are on TV or here, please make sure you look for the letter coming in the mail also. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we'll have a motion to open public discussion, please.
So moved.
Second?
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. So we do have a lot to cover, and I usually try and give some leeway, so I'll try, but if I try and give you the high sign, don't take it personal. Is there anybody that would like to address the council? Sir.
Tony Napoli, 447 Prospect Avenue.
Dr. Jermaga, 448 Prospect Avenue.
One question on the tax bill, I guess the increase in taxes is also, I read in the paper, is that increase is going to be in this bill as well?
The tax increases what?
The taxes went up, right?
Well, no, the school tax and the county tax went up, but not the municipal tax.
So we won't see an increase in our.
You will see an increase, but depending
A
on
slight
what your
increase.
house is assessed at, it'll be very small.
Okay, but it's going to be in this bill that's going out tomorrow. Okay,
Oh, it went out today.
okay, today.
The municipal tax rate, which I think we, as a council and administration and mayor, can have substantial input and control, is down for the second year. We have to fight with the school in terms of getting that down, but that's a different story, so.
Yeah, okay. I just wasn't clear on that. I wanted, you mentioned the road work list, okay? This is all about the sewer issue on Prospect Avenue, okay? It was agreed upon when the road work was gonna commence that the sewer in front of the Tools House was gonna be fixed. I didn't hear Prospect on your list. Is that included on the list?
Is what?
Is that Prospect Avenue included on your list? It was, we discussed that there's an imperfection in the sewer in front of the Tools House on Prospect Avenue. That was gonna be addressed when the road work was gonna be commencing. I didn't hear that street mentioned on your list.
I'll have to talk to our engineer, but maybe it's not there because he wants to wait till everything gets worked out there before paving or doing anything, but we'll talk to him tomorrow.
Is the whole street or just the sewer area?
The sewer.
The sewer area?
Just inside the sewer, there was a problem with the invert,
Okay.
and it was not major, but they said they were gonna take care of it when the road work was gonna be commencing.
Yeah.
All right, so the
Okay.
road work is commencing, you didn't mention the streets,
I'll remind him.
and we're not letting any little thing slip by, okay? Which brings me to an email that I read that was brought to my attention from my wife. Excuse me, I was left off, no big deal about that, about reservations and putting the backflow valve in the corner of Prospect and Calvin. Much to my surprise, in the memo issued by the mayor on May 13th, from the meeting on May 9th, that main backflow device will be installed for all the neighbors instead of them installing individual ones. It was a done deal. There was a revelation that the DPW couldn't do it by Mr. Sears, had to go out and contract someone to get in there.
Well, actually, the engineer had said that if they can't do it, we knew that we'd have to sub it out, but okay.
All right, well, he should have asked when we just talked about it, 3 months down the road, which is another question. So, I sent out some emails, and I'm not gonna apologize for anything I said in that email, okay? Because I'm furious that now we're hearing about reservations coming from the Director of Engineering. Now, I don't know if that's Mr. Statiel's boss, or who he is. I spoke to Mr. Bruno. He had no clue about this, all right? It was a surprise, just another surprise. And I'm really shocked. I'm really shocked. Because how can Mr. Statiel sit here in a meeting that we had with the residents, agree to do this, and not pass it by his boss all those months ago? And now we come 6 months later, down the road, and someone's getting cold feet because they feel they're gonna be liable for the backflow valve if anything happens. That's how I see it. So that's why I asked for another meeting that Mary Ann is gonna set up, which is great. But it has to get resolved. This is ridiculous. We're over 6 months. Sue was kind enough to send me the check-off list of the sewer work dated August 4th. And just tonight, I printed it out to put it in my folder, and I said, oh, lo and behold, 156 Calvin, unclogged pipe with jet. This problem's bigger than you think. This is
This is
100 feet south from
This
where
is the same
we're always
area.
having the problem. Okay? To be clear, the residents want the pipes replaced and fixed. We don't want a backflow valve. That's not our choice. Okay? We wanted that fixed and replaced. The cost and the estimation of that, you guys came up with $100,000. We asked to be off that grid. Okay, that would have been $250,000. I don't want to go through it all, because we'll go through it again, and you have a lot on your plate. But, you know, we're not, don't blame the victims. We are the victims, okay? We're getting the brunt of all this, and there's no resolution in sight. Great, we got the sensor going in tomorrow, 9 o'clock. Wonderful. I read the Director of Engineering's report in that email. It sounded like he suggested it. They didn't even have a clue. That was not even a recommendation in their head. It was us, okay? So, I don't know what else to say. We're resilient. We're not going away. It's gonna get fixed, okay? Cleanup is not gonna be doing it. You know, it's just not gonna work. You have issues that right down the block. What's taking you people so long to realize to fix the problem? More delays, reservations by professionals that agreed to do the job way back in May, okay? I don't get it. And the maintenance, when we said, oh, we got a new administration, we got a new DPW, everybody's on the ball, you know what? This problem is 12 years old, okay? Administrations have come and gone, okay? You guys may retire and move to Florida. God bless you, good luck, okay? But you're not gonna all be here. But the problem will still be here. And it's our health, and it's our financial responsibility, okay, that we're wondering what's gonna happen with it. What's gonna happen with the value of our homes? What's gonna happen with the cancer survivors living in the cul-de-sac? If it doesn't get resolved, it's gonna get escalated, okay? It's gonna get escalated, and it's gonna be addressed. Like I said, we're resilient. I just can't see this. I hated to bother Mr. Toole on his vacation, okay, and bring this to his attention. And he was 100% agreement. I spoke to Mark about this, and I don't know what to tell you. You know, the court of public opinion is on our side. No one wants to see sewerage. If it ever happens again, I have a thought of bringing a 5-gallon can worth of sewage and dumping it on your desk and say, here, this is what we have to deal with. Here, this is yours. This is your personal souvenir from us. You're not gonna wanna see that. This is ridiculous. Help us out. Get this done. Whatever the reservations they have, I don't know what it is, okay? Fix it. Replace our pipes, put the proper slopes in, get us off the grid, do whatever you gotta do. I'll be waiting for the, get it off.
For 6 months, you're thinking what to do nothing. There are always obstacles, obstacles, obstacles. We voted for you to serve for us. You're supposed to represent us. You're supposed to help us. Where's your help? On the beginning, we were begging for help. Later on, we were asking for help. Then later on, we were putting a little bit pressure on you to help us. We were screaming almost. Nothing. Nothing happened. I was reminding you about your competence, to be aware of it, not to be ignorant. Nothing is happening. Miss Maya, I think you are, all of you, you are in charge in this town. George Washington would be ashamed that somebody gave this township name after him. Yeah, that's true. Where are you, Miss Mayor? Who is ruling this township? If I ask Mr. Stetile, our city engineer, because he was brought here as a supervisor, or I don't know, as a specialist, he was discouraging our mayor to help us. When I told him not to do so, he said, I'm not discouraging her. I can do whatever she asked me to do. So we finally get to solution to put the valve. He was representing as a city engineer. He was in this room, and he agreed to put a valve. So for 2 months, we were waiting for a company who can build the custom-made valve. Then for another at least month, we were waiting for another company who can install it. When we got first company and second together, then now we have shadow man, Mr. Vladimir, who is boss of Mr. Stetile, not to do so. Can you imagine? Somebody like Mr. Vladimir, maybe we should ask his boss, Mr. Putin. Who knows who is behind him? Who is behind him? Who the hell is ruling this city? Mr. Vladimir? He is in charge? He has to say what to do or what not to do? I will tell you why he doesn't want to put this valve. Because he doesn't want to take responsibility if the valve is not working properly and the ship literally hit us, then he will be responsible for that, for not doing proper maintenance. That's why he is scared of, because he has to maintain those valves at least once a month, properly. Because if not, then if something happens, he will be responsible. He doesn't want to take responsibility. Probably neither you. I don't know.
Have any of you guys spoken to him, Director of Engineering?
I have not. I
Do you
mean,
know him?
I have met him. I mean, my assessment of the situation is you have been patient, you've come here, you've laid out your case. Our engineer decided to install a backflow valve. He specified it. It was custom built, and it was ready to be installed. And quite honestly, I don't understand. I do understand that a memo was written, but I don't understand where this is coming at the last minute, and I have the same questions you have. I know there's a meeting that's trying to be scheduled, but, you know, I think we need
What
some
happened
answers.
was, the valve was made, and when it came in, and he opened the package, okay, he did look at it, and he felt, he was a little leery about whether or not it would really work. So the administrator and I felt that we would get an opinion from Vladimir, but when he saw it, he wasn't sure it would really work.
Well, I guess my question is, why would we have a meeting back in May? Why would it be specified? Why would it be custom-made? Why would it be signed off? Why would we go through the expense? You know, all these questions I'm sure the residents are wondering, and I'm wondering as well. Should have Vlad been engaged earlier? Should the director have been engaged earlier? And does the director have an opinion on what the proper solution is?
At the time, it was either individual backflows on each lawn or one to serve all the residents, and it was decided that the town would install one, larger one. But when it came in, he wasn't sure it was gonna really work.
Well, you know,
So, I mean, you know, that's all I can tell you at this point.
you're an engineer,
But
you design
yeah,
something, you
no.
scope it out, you write the specifications. You know, it's like building
I
a
agree.
new Tappan Zee Bridge and saying, you know what, I don't put a car over it because I think the thing's gonna fall down.
So what was the Mr. Stetile coming here for? If he's incompetent, he doesn't know if this is going to work or not.
Well, I
Why
wouldn't,
we
I
have
wouldn't
to
call.
deal with him?
I understand you're upset. I would not call him incompetent. I understand you're upset, but the meeting, I know Mr. Toole was on vacation. You were trying to arrange it for this week. Has that been rescheduled yet?
He's out of the country now. And
No, not only because the doctor just came to me today and told me that when he is and isn't available. So I have to do, now that I know, I'll reach out to all the players. Again, I mean, just to reiterate what the mayor said, I know that I sat here and watched, Mr. Sedil did have reservations. I was not a participant in any of the meetings. I wish I had been. I think he then went and acceded to the direction of the mayor and the council to go ahead with the backflow preventer. When he did see it and how it was fabricated, he was not, right away, I saw his face, and he was asking for other people, because, just so you know, it's not that he's incompetent. This isn't a run-of-the-mill problem for engineers to deal with, unless, I guess, they're specific to this type of work. So he has done due diligence. We will have the meeting, you can ask him questions. Doctor, you will not be there, but we can get to the bottom of this.
I disagree with that, because people at municipalities and cities that are in flood zones do this all the time. Okay? Lower River, Hoboken,
Hoboken has the same
all those
problem.
areas, Little Ferry, people that get flood waters, they do it all the time. Okay, so this is not brand new, you know.
Okay, so-
Maybe it's not so common in this town.
But no, there's a difference between stormwater and sanitary. There's a different with that.
It's sanitary water also
Yeah.
going up.
But there's a
Your point is-
different level of
your
what's
point
in the
is-
water.
Your point is taken. I think that without the engineer, the director, you know, your frustration can only be expressed to us. It's,
I understand the risk.
So if I can just recap, I know we're planning a meeting with them again. I know you called me when you saw the email, I was in the car. I called Mrs. Steele and just basically reiterated the same thing, that here we are with this piece in a box sitting upstairs, and now there's reservations. And my comment was, if you felt there were reservations from day one, then that should have been brought to our attention, and it should have been saying that I can't do a backflow valve because it's not gonna work. So the reservations, just so you understand, I'm not an engineer, is I don't think they feel there's enough pressure coming out of your pipes to open this gill to push the water out, which then closes. So they're concerned, I think, that there's not enough water and pressure pushing it through, so it'll defeat the purpose and do the opposite. That's my take on it, but I don't, you know, again, if you see the piece, I mean, we'll show you the piece, it's just an odd-looking thing. So then they backed out, saying, you know what, I'm not really sure. He spoke to Vladimir, which was a little news to probably all of us, I guess, I don't know. I mean, you know, as a council, we've all been sending emails internally about where is it, when's it gonna be done, what's happening, and we're just, I don't know if we're as frustrated, but we're upset because it's something that's out of our hands, but it's an embarrassing situation for us. It doesn't help you fix the problem. So let's try and schedule our meeting, sit down again, and once and for all, figure out what it is. And I think we need to talk about the pipes. I don't know if that's the answer. I've told you my feeling. You know, we've talked about it. I don't know what the answer is, to be honest with you, but I think you said, or somebody said back when, you know, maybe we need to bring in an engineer from a different area to look at something. So I think that might be the answer too.
We said that, you know, as going into this meeting, we distributed points and comments on the video we took. And one of the points that we said, we need a second opinion, okay? Now, I was about to say, you know, I understand the risks. I understand what, you know, Mr. Steele and Vladimir is talking about. There may not be enough force, but I come to scratch my head and say, you know, you got 5 houses. You got 5 houses with kids that do laundry, take showers, okay? There's all the shower water, all the sink water, all your water from the dishwasher, your washing machine goes down that same pipe. Lord, there's gonna be enough flow. And if anybody did a flow analysis beforehand, okay, I'd be really surprised, okay? Even if they did a flow analysis on Calvin and Ridgewood to see how much water comes down that pipe 20 years ago, before they built our development, and see what the projection would be, okay, with our development and the construction, some forecasting, I doubt they did any of that, okay?
So this is something I think we have to go through again,
All right.
unfortunately. I don't know what else to tell you.
Mr. Brown?
I didn't expect any answers tonight.
No, I know.
I just wanted to display my frustration and more, and the tool is not here.
I understand your frustration, and I think, I'm going to speak for myself, I'm frustrated for you, because this is something that should have been solved a long time ago. Now, why our engineer did not talk to our director before any of this went through is a mystery to me.
Certainly
When you're
is.
doing surgery, you go to the chief of surgery and find out what's going on, right, doctor?
Yeah.
You book everything through him. So I'm a little perturbed why it got this far. We made a custom-made part for you that we're not using. It should have been addressed at that point, okay? Now, my suggestion is, we had an engineer in town for a long time, Mr. Azalina, and his company, actually his dad was an engineer, and he did all the sewers in town. I think he's a good specialist to bring in to decide if this thing will work or not. They designed them, they would know the sewer system better than anyone else. He's done 45 square miles of sewer pipe in Washington Township. I think we should talk to him and get him on board and find out what's going on. And again, this thing has been piecemealed out. You're suffering. I don't want to use I feel your pain, but I'll go with it. I understand the frustration. And I apologize to you that this is happening.
From the get-go, I
I don't know what
knew
else
this
to tell
was
you.
gonna happen.
And I'll ask Pete, did you ever hear a reservation about this valve?
No, not a
I
one.
never heard one. I thought it was a done deal. I never heard anything about it since the last round of emails.
When we were at your house, the very first day that this happened, and then when we met the sewage company, they both said there was plenty of water flow coming down out of that pipe. So that's
So
why I'm
there's a-
kind of shocked when they said there wasn't enough water flow.
And just to throw out, you're not putting in a highly technical piece of equipment in the manhole.
It's a check valve.
It's a check valve. If it doesn't, you put it in, you monitor it, you keep a close eye on it for a week or 2 or 3, or whatever the interval is. If it doesn't work, you pull it out, okay? At least you tried something.
Tony, I don't want to
I know, you got a lot. Go ahead.
I don't want to cut you short because
That's
it's such a big thing, so I tried to allow the time. But I think the more important thing is we can talk in circles, and I mean in the sense to how we feel, but let's get these guys in a room again, figure it out. And to
That's
Dr.
fine.
Cassio's point, if we call, Paul Azalina, we'll have a conversation with him.
Okay, I agree. Yeah, I didn't want to take the public council.
That's okay.
Okay, I know I can go on a couple hours.
Pete, you want to be included in that meeting?
All right, thank you for.
Thank you for your attention.
Sure.
Marion, please let us, Pete and I know when that meeting is. We'd like to attend it.
Have you all agreed that that's who could be, is going to be?
We'll
at the
talk
meeting?
about that after. We'll go
Okay.
through.
Well, whenever it is, we'd like to know when it is.
Sir.
Ray Barnwell, 838 Crest Place. At the last meeting, I brought up the subject of having these signs that say it is a state law to stop for pedestrians in the crosswalk. We are the only town, as far as I can see, and 2 or 3 times a week, I go to various different towns in Bergen County, and they all have these signs. But apparently, our police department thinks it's dangerous to put these signs up. Apparently, our police department gives more about safety of cars than they give a damn about the safety of pedestrians. Let's get something done about it. Let's not be the only town that refuses to put these signs up. Thank you.
Very good.
I know, Madam Mayor, I know the last time, actually, Ray said he brought it up last meeting, but he actually brings it up every meeting for the last several months. But I know you were going to talk again to Captain Hackball to see.
He's away right now, leave
Okay.
next week, but he does not agree with them.
But, so can we be clear? I think the captain was opposed to putting signs in the middle of the street, the movable ones. There was a discussion to possibly put signs on the side of the road, that just indicate that a crossing is coming up and they're required to stop for state law, or it's a requirement to stop. Are those also out of, are those also being opposed, or, because I would disagree with Mr. Bernroth that the police don't care and care more about the vehicles. I think they're just trying to be,
The Captain
balanced.
Hat Park is very safety oriented, as you know. I'll have to talk to him about signs on the side of the streets.
I mean, I have a sign in front of my house, the inverted home plate, whatever that is, with the two people walking across. I mean, I don't think one person crosses the street in front of my house. I don't know how it magically appeared, but, perhaps we can put those types of signs somewhere else, in higher.
We'll take yours.
You're more than welcome to. I feel like I'm in the DMF yard with so many signs on my front and side yard, but, okay, if that could be, as opposed to doing the ones in the middle of the street that are movable, something permanent on the side,
We'll talk to him.
thank you.
So you'll have an answer by the 27th, just
Oh, yeah, he'll be back next
conversation, and
week.
just let us know so we can talk to Mr. Bernhardt?
I will bring it up again at the next meeting, so please have an answer.
I know you will.
Christine Rydell, 302 Hickory. So I've kind of been a silent spectator over this ordinance 17-9 for the time limit of parking. I've seen and heard both sides, the residents who don't want the parking on their streets, as well as parents who are concerned that their children don't have a place to park. Until late, I was Switzerland. I didn't care. It didn't matter to me. It didn't bother me. But now you're telling me I can't park for more than 2 hours in front of my house. Now we have a problem. So I understand both sides of the argument. I understand the families who don't want children driving down their block, going at excessive speeds. On Hickory, I go to the dead end, and I have people from my block speeding up and down all the time. I have an 11-month-old.
Christine,
concerns
I'm
me.
sorry.
Yes.
I'm getting like all these
Okay.
things in my ears. So we have this on the agenda,
Okay.
and we will open it up to the public.
At that time?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
that's fine.
I don't want to cut you off.
No, that's okay.
But if there's anything else you'd like to talk about, that's fine, but, which I'm sure there's a lot. But when we open it up, this way we can do it with the public
Awesome.
hearing.
Sounds good. I'll wait
Okay.
until then.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank
No,
you.
that's okay.
That's pretty good. You just show up.
Ellen Dogali, 749 Wayne Place.
Bernadette Gilio, 746 Wayne Place.
This is about the house again, 741 Wayne Place. We just found out that the house fell through. So there's going to be another auction on the house.
It's up to the bank. The bank is the...
So the bank owns it?
No, the bank is the foreclosing mortgagee, and the way that the process works is if the successful bidder doesn't pay the bid price at the foreclosure sale, it then falls back onto the bank to require another sale and move ahead with advertising and having it on sale. So it's up to the bank to do that. We don't control
Right.
that process.
Okay.
And what
Now,
about,
I don't know, the last I heard, I don't know if it absolutely fell through. I know that I called and asked, and they said it hadn't been paid. And I asked them, I said, what happens now with the sheriff's office? And they said they're waiting for instructions from the bank, because the bank is the one whose money that is that they're entitled to. So that's just as to ownership of the house.
So who owns the house?
The owner still owns the house until there's a foreclosure sale.
Okay.
If the foreclosure judgment sets up the ability to have a sale, and when there's a sale and the money is paid, the right of redemption of the owner of the house is extinguished, and the new owner gets a sheriff's deed and becomes the owner of the house. But the bidder, who was a successful bidder, has the obligation to pay the bid price.
Sure.
The bank gets the money, sheriff gives the deed, and that's the way the process goes. Normally, you don't see the bidder come in and not pay the bid price, but, you know.
So now, the people that still own the house, they're not responsible
Well,
for anything with that?
The problem with the people who own the house, the record owners, they're in Florida, and they don't,
they're
they do
in
nothing,
Greece
they could care less, they're not interested. So there's there's nothing you can do personally with them, they're not here. All you can do is do the best you can with the conditions at the house in terms of health, property maintenance, stuff like that. I
All
realize
right,
it's
well,
not
the
the
last time we
greatest.
were here on June 26th, we asked about the van in the driveway,
It's properly registered, there's nothing that can be done about it.
Why?
but it's like
not the
abandoned
owner's.
property,
It's not
right?
abandoned property, it's not abandoned property unless the owner says that it's not supposed to be on that property. It's not something from third
But we
party.
can't get in
Wait,
touch with the
the
owner.
owner.
No,
So-
I understand, but it's properly registered and it's there.
By whom, though? Who owns that van?
The police know who owns that van, they have it properly registered.
Is that the same man that tried to rent it to squatters? That he lives in Bergenfield? He should take the van to Bergenfield.
I haven't gotten any information from the police department.
Well, there is a flat tire in the van, and I thought by law, you're not supposed to have a vehicle in your driveway for, and it doesn't move for how many, like maybe 6 or 7 months? It hasn't moved, or more. You have to have moving vehicles. It hasn't moved at all.
Well, I'm interested that you're saying that, but there's nothing that I know of that says that you have to get the car out of the driveway if it's there 6 months. It's up to the owner of the property to say he wants, if the car is not registered, the police can take it. If it's properly registered, there's no authority
Yeah.
for, it's the owner can get rid of it, but it's the owner has to do it.
Yeah, but the owner's not around.
I understand that, I understand that. So, I
We can't
understand
find
it.
the owner.
No, I
All right,
understand
so
that.
what about the pool? Anything?
Well, you want to report on the pool, Mary Ann? We did have the health department go out, we did have the DMF go out, we did post notices. We are prepared, I think, to do what has to be done to.
Yeah, to try to trim the
try to
weeds
trim
from
the
growing
weeds, yeah,
above the sight line.
Exactly.
Apparently,
right,
there's a cover that fell in,
right.
so they're going to, but apparently there's no health risk because they put some tablets in the water that last for the rest of the breeding season. So there's gonna be no issue with
But
mosquitoes.
What about, like,
So
other
can-
things that
Wait.
fell into that pool?
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna have the DMF going, wading through that pool. They
I'm not
went out
asking,
to
but I
assess
thought we
it.
were told that there was money from the town, that this pool situation was gonna be taken care of somehow.
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
There's the ability to lien the property for work that's authorized by law, I mean, you can't go in with a SWAT team and just say, let's fix this property up and let's just put the lien on the property. It has to be violation of property maintenance, if it has to be an unsafe structure under the Uniform Construction Code. It has to be something that's verifiable in terms of violation of a law that authorizes the work to be done. It can't be done just because it
So
may be.
what do we
yeah.
have to do to find out about that?
Well, we've sent in just about everybody that can be sent in, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
I thought there was a
So the fence-
structural problem.
The fence is not to code, or,
the fence, I think there's been damage to the fence, so there are gaps. The building department recently wrote up a violation notice. The DMF put a lock on it to try to secure it a little bit.
so, I guess, so I happen to go past the property. I sent a picture, I went to a neighboring property, they gave me permission to go back. I guess my question is, if it was next to me, I would be upset. So there is what can best be described as a science experiment coming out of an in-ground pool. There are weeds that extend, 7, 8 feet above the coping on the pool. Are you, or not you personally, but are we saying that that is not a violation? That's not a health risk, that's not a property code maintenance? I know they put the tablets in so they're not gonna breed mosquitoes, but I just can't imagine that as a town, we recognize that that's okay.
Well, it's not a health risk, but it is I recognize it, and it's recognized as an eyesore, and I did direct the DMF in the last week to go tackle that problem. I don't know where it is on their list of things to do, and frankly, I'm upset and surprised it hasn't been done by now. I don't know if you know if it has been.
So
No, but
can we
I'm
check with
concerned
them
about the DMF
tomorrow?
guys. I mean, I don't know, are they,
They're instructed
Yes,
not to go into the pool
This
themselves.
almost
They did
seems like
cut
a
a lot
company
of
needs to come
grass
in
and leaves
and
and stuff. They picked up a lot of dead leaves and
Yeah,
things.
that's not our, you know, honestly, there's like about this much room before the pool overflows, and we know that's gonna go down to the next
Birch.
block, and White Birch is not gonna be happy. But, I just think it's a job for a professional company. Nothing against our DPW guys, I like them, don't get me wrong. But I just don't, you know, I mean, that's a nightmare of a job.
I agree, and, you know, I guess I'm personally of the opinion that we have on our books the ability to issue a lien. I don't know how easy that is, how complicated it is.
We have been doing that.
Actually,
But-
next meeting, there's gonna be one. Ken's looking at what I drafted.
You know, I mean, we're not gonna build the Taj Mahal, but at least bring it to some level of, you know, meaningful, you know, resolution. I don't know
Well,
what that.
in fairness to what Mary Ann is saying, and there have been plenty of emails going back and forth, this has
Yes.
not been ignored.
I agree.
Every agency has been brought in, the county, you know, the mosquitoes have been brought in, health's been brought in, DMF's been brought in. Mary Ann asked DMF to take care of it. She's upset, I'm upset that it's not being taken care of, because it should have been taken care of by now. This is not something you should live with. I talked to the code enforcement official to go full bore on this and put the lien on after all the work is done, but get all the work done that needs to be done.
Okay.
And take an aggressive stance. What else
No,
is the
okay.
administration supposed to do?
Yeah, but on that note, can I just ask Ken's, because we are down a guy in our DMF, and there are a number of other properties, sadly, in the township that the DMF is taking care of, because there's a number that are in in violation. Can we hire an outside company?
I think you can hire outside company to do things, and I would actually recommend taking an aggressive stance, and if somebody raises it, we'll fight it in court.
Okay.
Because the bottom line is that, I mean, be aggressive and do what you need to do. Get
I
it
think there
done.
must be,
If
you
it's
know-
DMF hasn't done it, I think the contractor should be
Right.
doing it and put the lien on, and let somebody who buys that house say that the lien doesn't
If the
pertain.
owner does not pay his taxes or his mortgage, wouldn't the bank take over? Wouldn't that be?
Well, you would think that the bank would not sit back and they'd want their money, and they would be
Yeah.
moving this thing along because, but obviously, you know, you've read what happened to the mortgage market in the United States. It's like, there's a plethora of foreclosures, okay? And it is very surprising that banks don't move quickly to get their money. They're owed, it's not insignificant, it's a fairly substantial amount of money. It's not, you know, a $50,000 mortgage, it's a lot of money. And so you would think that they're carrying it on the books, but, you know, these banks, I deal with them all the time, they don't act the same way that you would think they would act in the business sense, but we can't
Well,
control
I
it.
really do appreciate that there are emails going around, you haven't forgotten about us.
No, I get an email about
I drive by as
741
much as
Wayne is
possible.
like on the radar of all times.
Yeah, we see a
So there must,
lot of
there
activity.
must be enough ordinances that we can cite them for, no
No,
doubt.
we have.
Mr. Bruno?
Yeah, we have-
Citing-
we have-
Chapter 173 of our township maintenance property, Article 173-7, maintenance of exterior premises. Right here it says, inadequate foundation walls, unsafe exterior facilities, holes, fire escapes, doors, weeds, glass. There's enough here to cite this guy
Right.
for thousands and thousands of dollars if we follow what this code is.
So we should follow the code, cite them, and then we can bring in an outside service.
get an outside service.
Beyond that.
I know, I
We're
understand
beyond
that.
that, yeah.
We all
So-
have the authority, it's a question of
Okay.
doing the work.
So we're short in the DMF, you said, which, again, I think I had,
Well, we have somebody on vacation.
I know, but I think I had DMF staffing on the list for like,
No,
4
somebody
months?
suffered an injury on the job.
Okay, but, you know, again, I don't want to, with the residents here, but in all honesty, I've had DMF staffing on our agenda for 5 months, seasonal and full-time. So to me, okay, someone suffered an injury, I feel bad, but again, we budgeted for people, we didn't do it. So let's get this done. Let's talk to them tomorrow, see what has to be done. If not, we get an outside service. We put a lien on the property, as Tom said, and that's it.
Okay. I mean, I will say, they were very responsive. As soon as we found out from the health officer went in and said there was concerns of rodents, and he found no evidence whatsoever of any rat
Okay, so
holes.
now-
He thought there was,
Yep.
he thought there might be evidence of a foxhole. So I directed them to clear all the debris that would provide any nesting place for any type of animal, and they did clear that out. So they did spend significant time there in the last 2 weeks. I will make sure they attend to the
Well,
pool.
we do have foxholes.
Okay, so we'll go to Plan B.
Okay.
Okay.
Ellen,
Plan
have you
B.
seen a fox there?
And then we'll be,
Yeah.
can they get a call tomorrow, Mary Ann, or
Of course.
Wednesday? Okay.
I'm gonna send an email while I'm sitting on the
Okay.
dais.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much.
Al Gilio, 746 Wayne Place. Same topic. If I get in touch with the owners of the house, who do they have to call to say they want the van removed?
I believe it has to be in
It
writing.
has to be in writing.
That's what,
Can you give me the form, and if I can get in touch with them, I will send it to them?
Great.
Okay, where can I get the form?
if you call the police department tomorrow, they can give you the particulars of what has to be done.
Okay, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but
Probably have a tow.
I do have their contact information.
Probably doesn't have a tow, I guess. Get somebody to tow it. If they say.
We
remove.
can't do that.
Oh.
It's already been looked
Yes.
into. We can't do that.
Okay, so let's get the letter. If you can, that would be great.
Okay, the second thing is, I know that the sale was vacated. I checked the sheriff's sale website every day almost, or every week. And the auction is October 6th. But I've been trying to talk to the sheriff's office and to the attorney that's handling the foreclosure, but I can't seem to get any answers. Is there any way, if you can get any answers, to find out why this fell through? Why this deal fell through? Did the guy just not have enough money, or he just didn't want to deal with the other guy that's there?
I don't think that there's any way to find out, why somebody didn't come through with their, with the rest of the bid price. They just didn't, and then, and it's up to the bank to just move ahead.
Because my concern is this guy, George, the church guy, is, tying things up in court. And I don't know that for a fact. I'm just afraid that that's gonna happen. He's still fighting for his percentage, or he still thinks he owns the house, or whatever. So I'm trying to find out more information, and if you guys hear anything, we'd appreciate it, but I'll keep digging as well. Okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on, David. Come on, David.
David Snide, 91 Windsor Circle. Subject of signs to stop for pedestrians, state law. The gentleman was up here before. All you gotta do is drive down many of the towns and you see the signs there. One of the things I noticed that's probably very important, even though it's the county road, you have some painting of stripes that say, slow down, school zone, as we come up on Memorial Field, coming up on Pascat. That's worn out. That's very elementary. Why can't we get someone out there right away, the next 30 days, they're gonna start school? Why can't that be very bright so someone can see it? That's not asking too much. And the stripes that are going across both Memorial Field, going across Pascack Road from Memorial, and where our shopping center is here, the stripe going across. Excuse me?
They're gonna be doing those.
Yeah, but they should do it way before school starts. So, and, some kind of optic white that someone could really see. I mean, there's different degrees of white in painting, and I think it should really show up. I don't know why the police department is against those signs, like around Hillside Avenue, in Hillsdale, and they're in Hohokus, where my office is, and by Ridgewood, I don't understand. If someone runs over it, it's a rubber thing. I mean, or it's like on a base. It's not gonna kill anyone. And I would think the trucks, most important, the trucks that are coming down here, the 18-wheelers that are full speed ahead, the policemen are not gonna stop them, give them a ticket, because there's so many coming. And what I'm worried about, the next project that's gonna happen is, you're gonna find Hillsdale with a new trash company that's Waste Management that is desperately trying to come in there, and we're not going to be able to stop them coming down Pascack Road. And I know most of the mayors were not happy about the situation of that project there that helped the Hillsdale residents get a big tax break when that was done. And I know, Madam Mayor, all of you are against this, but it's going to mean more traffic. It's going to happen. And we're going to have those wonderful smells of the summer.
Mr. President, can I just give you an
Yep.
update on that? Because we went to testify.
Yeah, I know.
in May, okay? Ironically enough, or much to our surprise, we were like in shock, they did not issue the permit to Waste Management, DEP. Why? Anyway, they sent it to the county, okay? The county BCOA. And I spoke to Mr. Wheeler, who's in charge, and they have been charged with, they have to examine certain aspects of it. One is the environmental, one is the truck route, okay? And one is the actual need for that facility, since there are so many empty ones in New Jersey that are not being used. So, but it's gonna take a long time, because the BCOA has to first find out what they're authorized to do, what their responsibilities are. They have to get all of the data and the hearing, the tapes and everything from them before they can even start. So they're gonna keep us abreast of it. So it's not gonna happen anytime soon. And, you know, and I'm glad they're looking at the routes, because we were the ones who got all the smell and the.
We
stuff.
suffered.
Yeah.
We couldn't send them
So,
down Ridgewood Ave. We
so-
had to send them on
Yeah.
Pascack Road. We had no
The mayor,
choice.
in Hillsdale, I have been calling everybody down there and whatever, and so that's where we are right now. So it is gonna be a while, and again, we may need your help again when we go there, whenever that's gonna be, and then, you know, we'll see what happens. But it is kind of like something at least accomplished. We were like in shock, because they said to us in December that they drafted a permit that after the hearing, it would be going forward, and they didn't do it. So there's still hope.
Okay, just remember, there's big bucks. They're a publicly traded company, and they're very big, and they win. Just like affordable housing, when builders sue, the builder's remedy always wins. Just remember that. I wonder if we could have a temporary stop for pedestrians. Let's try it for maybe 6 to 8 weeks when school starts. How's that for a compromise? You have the roads painted with the white stripes, and maybe we have optic white. And as Councilman Ullman said, the upside down, whatever it says, there's a crosswalk, but that's not gonna do it. It's gonna be stop for pedestrians. And just try it for 6 to 8 weeks. If it doesn't work, you get rid of it. It's a very easy solution. And maybe the trucks will slow down. And maybe the cars will slow down, because if they don't stop when a pedestrian's out, they're gonna get ticketed. You could also, you could have a police officer standing there during certain hours, and if they don't stop, pick up that black vehicle going up the road. He didn't stop. I hate to think that that has to become a source of revenue, but I think it should be. And let's get those signs up and try it. That's all I'm asking for. We always talk about violations of sidewalks. I think for 15 years that I've lived here, we've been talking about it. And the tree roots along our streets, and all of you know this, if you walk along the streets, they're all popping the sidewalks. And we do have an ordinance on the books. I think, Mr. Pollard, we put that in a long time ago, that they have to keep their sidewalks in order. Am I correct?
No,
There isn't?
no.
There's no ordinance?
There's no ordinance to repair your sidewalks that I'm aware of in town. What there is to keep it clear of debris, to keep it clear of ice, but not not a directive to maintain it in terms of repairing elevated sidewalks, things of that nature. There's a body of law about liability if people fall.
Yeah.
But that's a different issue than
Yeah.
a town issuing a violation saying that you have to, repair your sidewalk. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, my recollection is there was somebody in town where the sidewalk actually disappeared and they didn't want to put it back, and I think they weren't required to put it back. But long and the short of it is, I'm not aware of any ordinance.
Can you think about council people to put an ordinance in effect? We're going into winter. I know it's summer, but we're going to be going into winter. When the ice melts and it freezes, it raises the sidewalks even more. Why not put something that's very good for the town? A lot of people like to walk and exercise now. And they run along the sidewalks. Let's get an ordinance in. And let's have our sidewalks come under the town government that they have to make them right. Okay? I hope so. The last thing is exit 171. Where are we? I know it's summer. Is anything being done?
You're not gonna, I just want to say one, you're not gonna like this one.
I sure.
No, you're not gonna like it. They're going to be rehabilitating the bridge or the overpass on Wardell Avenue and Bridgewood Road, where there are 6 lanes, and that's exit 165, I believe.
Yep.
Okay, well, the detour for all those people
Is us.
coming to 168, being only allowed to make a left-hand turn, and then a right-hand turn to get back to go south. But it's only going to happen at night, 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. I just got notified, like, a few days ago. I sent a letter out today to the Highway Authority, okay, because they're in charge of the project, and the chief engineer, Rob Fisher, who we've dealt with before. So I wrote this letter, I can send you a copy if you want.
I would like it.
About not doing that, and having them detour the people before there, okay, not
Yeah.
have them come up here. I don't care if it's at night, because on the weekends, they're gonna work in the mornings or whatever. And there's still all that traffic coming here, plus what we normally get at night, is still gonna be a lot, okay, of issues. So I'm waiting, I just mailed it out, I just wrote it on the weekend, I mailed it out today. So we'll have to see what they say, but that, from that point of view, so at any rate, one of the suggestions in there was let them go up to 171.
I agree. I agree. Let them take a right turn.
It doesn't.
And we solve our problem.
It doesn't answer your question.
No, I know.
Anyway, let Ken,
But,
let
you know,
Ken-
we've discussed it, and, you know, I think it was a closed session discussion because it involved something that we didn't want to discuss in public about litigation, so we're
Brought it up.
continuing conversations on that.
Okay, so we're in on it. We haven't forgot it, and we're going to
No,
do
we
something.
didn't, no.
And that'll be also, if those cars start to come during, you said weekends under normal, maybe in the morning.
weekdays, 9 p.m. to 5, but Fridays and Saturdays late in the morning, so I don't know.
Okay, let's stop right there. I agree. That's more justification for the temporary sign of people crossing the walk especially Saturdays and Sundays. Everybody's normally home. That's just put those signs up. It's all you got to do is put a couple up, and let's try it. Again, it's revenue. Let
David?
people stop.
What else, David?
That's it. I'm upset about that. Thank you.
Bob, can I just ask Ken a question?
Sure.
Ken, is there any reason that we can't put an ordinance like that on the books about the sidewalks?
No, I think you probably can.
Okay, because what Mr. Snide said is true. We probably have a lot of pedestrians running in the street because the sidewalks aren't so safe. So we could kill, 2 issues with one ordinance, hopefully.
I was just shocked to hear that because I just had a conversation today with Mr. Mazinek because I had observed a sidewalk on Pascack Road, just south of Memorial Field, that is horrible. I'm just sending him an email now that there's no law to write the person up on. I'm shocked.
So Ken, we'll leave that one with you.
I can
Draft it up.
draft something up, and I can also, we'll probably take a look at some of the other towns and see what they have, but I think.
Okay,
that's
good. Thank you. Anybody else?
Michael DeSena, 347 Beach Street. My first question is, was Mr. Steele paid for that sewage study for those residents that spoke at the beginning of the meeting?
Was it paid for what?
Was Mr. Steele compensated for reviewing that sewer study, or did he do it under a general agreement?
I don't know what sewer study you're referring to.
The problem with the residents. that were-
He provided professional services
Okay.
in connection with that.
Is he willing to reimburse the town if this valve does not work for his?
Well, I don't know that anybody's determined that he did
Well, I'm saying,
anything wrong.
are we willing as a mayor and a council to have him be liable for, I believe the valve at the last meeting was, it's several thousand, it's not a cheap valve, it's not.
It wasn't
50
several thousand. It was just under 1,000, I believe.
Okay,
And
so
I
is he
think what
willing
happened,
is he willing to reimburse the borough for of the municipality for his, not coordinating with the director of engineering? That's just a question I have, because I know if I go to work and I specify something wrong, we end up eating it. And, I'm just wondering if he'd be willing to do that, and if we could ask him if he would. Because it doesn't sit right with me that we ordered a valve that he specified, and now at the 9th hour, we can't put the valve in, so we have it sitting on a shelf that we spent, and it's only $1,000. It's meaningless. The value.
my understanding is the valve may be useful in stormwater applications, but not sanitary sewer.
That is fine.
So
what you're
it may
saying.
have a purpose otherwise, but it's something that can
But
be
if we
explored.
can't install it in a sewer, where are we going to install, the problem is it's a valve that was specified incorrectly. Could we just ask him, as a borough resident, I'm asking him if he'll eat the valve, that's all. If we can ask him that.
We can have a conversation.
The second thing I have is, at the last meeting, Ms. Danver brought up the pedestrians always getting hit by the bus shelter, the close calls at the bus shelter. And actually, I'm not a commuter, so I said, let me go look at it. So I stood on the intersection coming out of, I stood at the corner, the White House, I don't know the exact number, the one of the abandoned houses. There's a 10-foot high weed that's encroaching onto Pascack Road, right at the edge of pavement. It's gotta be 10 feet high. And if you're standing on that corner, nobody can see you. She is absolutely right. I couldn't believe it. Like, I said to myself, all these meetings, she's been complaining about this. Nobody has gone out and looked at this thing. It has got to be 10 feet high, 6 feet wide. It's a weed. It's not even, it's a tree now because it's 10 feet high. But if the DMF went out there with a chainsaw, at least then when motorists are traveling south on Pascack Road, they can see pedestrians standing on the corner. Because right now you cannot see, you cannot see cars coming at you if you go look.
I don't know if it's our property.
It's in the public right of way. We can go cut it down. It's right at the edge of there's literally branches from this tree hanging onto traffic. If you cut the corner tight, you actually rub against it. And
Where is it?
right on the corner of Pascack and Washington.
Which
It's now
corner?
covering the no left-hand turn.
It's covering the no
Yeah.
left turns. Yeah, it's covering you're absolutely right, Councilman.
Yeah.
And it's just an overgrown, massive weed that could be cut in a matter of a minute, and we could help alleviate the close calls that and she is absolutely right. If
Is
you're
that the southeast corner where the bridal shop used to be?
No.
No.
Southwest.
Opposite corner.
No,
Northwest,
Patty corner.
northwest.
Yeah,
Northwest.
Northwest
the
corner.
northwest corner. Yeah.
If you go right to the Exxon station and look across the street, you can't miss it.
Yes, it's right there. It's literally, if you cut the corner short, you're gonna rub the side of your car with it. That's how.
I will ask Mr. Maznik, but the first order of business, I think Seasons owns that. They should be doing it, not us. We can do
I'm
it
sure
if they
he'll cut
don't
it
do
down,
it.
but it just amazes me that she brought it up.
Whatever has to be done.
It's just gotta be done. My next thing is property maintenance. If my the rental house that's across the street from me at 346 Beach Street, I've called numerous times, and Mr. Maznik is called the owners, and they remedy the situation within, I literally have hung up the phone with Mr. Maznik, and the owners must be calling the residents to go out there and cut the grass. But my question is why do I have to police my neighbors. If we have issues with a certain resident's address, like 346 Beach, I'm gonna throw it out there, that's the objective. And I have to call him every 2 months. Why should I have to call him? Shouldn't he have it on a list to just drive by and look at it and say, hey, Mike's not gonna bother me this month because they actually mowed the grass. Well, you know what? It's been 2 months now, the grass is again 3 feet high. So tomorrow I have to call Mary Ann's office and get Gary to call him again. But can we, somehow set up some kind of system that if he has repetitive houses over and over, can't he just put it on a list and once a month he go drive around town and look at them and say, I gotta call them again, or I gotta write them another letter. Whatever it is. It doesn't make sense that, as tax-paying residents, that I gotta police his job. I just don't understand it. It's driving me crazy because I have to wake up every morning, another issue is they've parked their, I thought we had no overnight parking in this town. Well, my renters across the street park every night out, and I have it all, I have videos I got up, my wife thinks I'm crazy, because I am. I got up at 4 a.m. to make sure, I got up at 4 a.m. because my wife's like, no, they just get up early and move the cars back into the street. Well, the blue Mercedes sat there for 7 days with 0 tickets on it. So does that mean that a police officer didn't drive down Beach in 7 days at nighttime?
And that's along with the white van and the other cars?
Yes.
Yeah, I did call the police department on that.
So
But they have given quite a few tickets recently at night.
not on Beach Street.
Well-
they
Not
have.
on Beach Street.
Not on Beach Street, because that car sat there for 7 days. It's a brand new blue Mercedes. It's a 2-door. It sat there for. Finally, I said I was all excited for the new school ordinance because then she would have finally got a ticket because it would be there every 2 hours, But if we could just maybe speak to the property maintenance, and if he's got repeat offenders, if they can go like on a repeat offender checklist.
This Mercedes,
3-strike charge?
was it that homeowners or
It's
was
the
it
renters.
just a random?
It's the renters. No, it's the renters that live there. With the other 3 renters that live. That's all I have. I apologize for getting worked up, but.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
regarding
Yes.
let's go back to Mary Ann. So the big weed,
Yes.
is this something that we will talk to, have our code officer talk to Stevens about?
Well, I think the
Well,
first thing is, because we do have so many properties that we're maintaining, we shouldn't just, enable them to disregard their property.
understand.
So have him contact them and have them cut it
Let's see
themselves.
whose it is.
I mean,
whether
they probably have landscapers that come at least once a week, so.
Yeah, I mean, he's usually pretty good when you
Yeah.
tell him.
Yeah.
Okay, the other question is, which I will not get into, what was mentioned about a schedule of looking at, property or repeat offenders. Leave that in your hands to have a conversation.
Okay, will do. I have a note about that.
I won't talk about
It
that
sounds very reasonable.
anymore, right? And, Madam Mayor, one other question I had, when David asked about the stripes and the painting, you said they're gonna be doing that soon. Who's gonna be doing that?
Well, the road department,
County?
they told me they were gonna be, putting in the crosswalks and stuff.
Us, the DMS?
I got the impression it was us, but I'll double check with them.
I think they do the crosswalks, but I don't think they do the actual county road with the school crossing, do they?
No, the county doesn't do any striping anymore
They
unless
don't
it's a
do
brand
any.
new
Okay.
road. They'll give you the paint.
They give us permission, but we get to do it.
So we do it?
And I'm assuming it's the dot reflective paint with
Yeah.
the.
We have that paint, yeah.
With the granules in it, right?
I guess that's back to you.
It's a standard
Yeah.
paint.
Mary Ann?
It's probably gonna be yellow.
Talk to Don, they'll know.
With the DMF, Bill's away this week, but I'll
Okay,
talk
I'm
to
just
him,
saying,
yeah.
so we'll put that.
No, I know in the past, we've gotten the paint from the county and I believe we apply it. But I think there's another issue, the mayor was gonna talk to the Captain Hackworth, because there was another potential crosswalk
Yeah,
they
we
were
have another
talking
one.
about.
Okay, is there anybody else that would like to address the council?
Joe Durso, 12 Viola Terrace. Mr. Pollard, you refreshed my memory about something. The sidewalks, just off what I'm going to talk about, that was the former mayor's house on Colonial, that the sidewalk disappeared.
Yeah.
Things happen when you know, I mean, I don't think it ever was put back anyway. It's still
Right.
sitting there.
Right.
But just want to point out, last week or the week before, I was at the planning board meeting, and why aren't the planning and zoning board meetings filmed for the public? I know sometimes things are boring. Why aren't they on
TV.
WCTV? I can understand basic agendas, nothing big, but there was a big meeting going on at the planning board, big decision. People probably don't even know about it. I know you have 5 ordinances to be introduced tonight. That's why I'm just going to bring them up, because I know there's no public portion of these. It's 17, 13, 14, 15, and whatever they are in there. There's 5 of them. My question is, you guys are going to, and maybe people here don't realize it, you guys are going to probably introduce ordinances and in a couple weeks vote on them. That's going to severely affect our town with affordable housing. And listen, I understand what you got. You have a hard job, and I respect Councilman Ullman because he is the planning board liaison, and I kind of held back further comments because it was a long night, and I respect what you guys do, all of you, but I really think, Mr. Pollard brought it up, and I understand that supposedly, as always, there's a time limit. We have to react now, or we're going to get fined. But I'll share with everybody. I'm from my old town where I came from in Clark, New Jersey. I'm good friends with the mayor down there. And Elizabeth, also, I have a business in Elizabeth. These people, that's Union County. There's 21 mayors fighting this. There's 5 mayors in Bergen County that are fighting this. Seems like tonight you guys are just going to open the path when you introduce these ordinances and vote on it. And I really think you need to fight for all of us because, listen, I know where you live. You're going to be severely affected by affordable housing, and people probably don't really understand, this overlay that they stuck on these properties. And, people are probably saying, what's this guy talking about? They did an overlay for the Y, that's now the Bethany Church. They did an overlay for Stone Mill Gardens. Mike Duffy came in here and cleared the air because he feels it's probably going to affect his business. People think he's selling out to a developer, because basically I know the town doesn't have a decision technically. To my understanding, Mr. Pollard and the planner explained it, but nobody in this town knows about it. That meeting wasn't televised, and that's kind of aggravated me right off the get-go. That the cameras had cardboard over it. These people in this town should know about this stuff.
About the planning meeting?
Yes. And so we have a little Facebook page out there. We have 200-something members of. So maybe I'm a little high-strung sometimes, and I kind of alerted people. Maybe they can go to it and find out. But this is an important issue in this town. There is no room for the development in this town, and nobody's taken into consideration what's going to go in on Van Emberg. I mean, it's a big housing complex. That road is tight as it is. That corner is brutal. Where the blinking lights are at Van Emberg in Washington. Is anybody taking into consideration the safety of people coming that way? When you put in 300, how many units was it, Mike?
It's 44?
44.
44 units. So multiply that by 4. You know how many more residents could possibly be in this town? But my big issue is the overlay. I mean, who's to say, I'm glad Mr. Duffy from Stone Mill came down and cleared the air that he's not selling. But you know what? A developer can make it pretty enticing for somebody now if you guys move forward with this, and just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to offer you X amount of dollars. And I know I got to pay the town probably, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, is it $125,000 per unit that goes in?
That was two additional units to be.
Okay, so every project that they develop, the town has to hold money in.
Well, there's a development fee ordinance.
A development fee. The town has to just do the accounting on it and gets no benefit out of it because that goes into a state fund.
Goes into a town fund that will address affordable housing obligations as they arise, if they arise.
I know the question is if, but then the overlay was tagged for the Bethany Church now, which is what used to be the former Y. That's a huge piece of property, and I know you guys explained it here at a meeting, and I know it probably was televised, and I know people probably didn't quite understand it, and I know it's coming to crunch time. But like I said earlier, there's other towns and counties that are fighting this, and I know you're saying that there was no choice, and these men, Mike, you brought it.
I didn't say there was no choice, Joe.
You said we're going to be fined.
No, I didn't say we're going to be fined. I said there was litigation, and the alternative, and this was fully, looked at by the council, and it was publicized. It wasn't, I mean, I know.
I'm not saying it wasn't.
I know that you said that, it's a surprise, but in reality, it really wasn't. I mean, this has been public for quite some time, and it was televised, all of our meetings were televised. Then we had a special presentation, and notices were put out and stuff like that, and the planning board thing was advertised. So this isn't something that just kind of was out there, but it's like anything else, okay? So does anybody look forward to the idea of having an affordable housing obligation in any town? Probably not, but with the Supreme Court saying that you do have an obligation, so you have a choice of doing nothing and just letting builders sue you and see what happens, or try to, litigate whatever, which is what we started to do originally. But there's always a counterbalance to what's involved. For example, I'm sure you read the record over the weekend. I think, what was it, Hakimian offered, 300 units on the Mercedes piece.
The Mercedes, yeah, or
Right,
Sony.
and they turned that down, so now they're going, I think, for 1,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
So 1,000, yeah. So, I mean, I don't think it's anything that people look forward to having to address and do. But by the same token, you also have to weigh, I think that the council did weigh, the impact of what's actually going to happen in the town and what's actually going on in the town in terms of these affordable housing units. It's not like, there's a big building of affordable housing units coming in. There would be 7 over at north of Van Emberg, and literally 2 more somewhere else.
Yeah, like you mentioned, the VFW properties.
Yeah, well, the VFW was already done.
Right.
So that's not, that, we got credit for that for the plan, and so that what we did there was pretty good. It was very good, as a matter of fact, because it was a jumping off point. So when you think of 7 plus 2, and we had 4, and that's what we're doing, and we have a plan, and we're out of this issue where the court can decide how many units and where, and fighting the builders' remedies, and fighting the builders what they want to do. You have to balance that, against the risk of going to court and having a court do that.
Well,
and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying that it's you can't fight certain things, but you also, in any litigation, you're a businessman. I'm sure you've been around. You weigh the chances of winning, and you weigh the chances of what's involved and what you can do for your client or for your town.
I understand what you're saying.
I don't even want to argue the merits or anything.
I don't want. I don't want to come on. Listen. Affordable housing, that people think, they're getting, an element coming in. That's not necessarily true. There's a lot of people that can apply for affordable housing, and I get that. But this town is so developed as it is right now, and I know the Van Emberg area over there where they're putting it, that's obviously a vacant area, but that street that is going in, Van Emberg, you have a high school there, that traffic in the morning, and I come through there sometimes I carpool with a friend from Woodcliff Lake, you literally can't get across that blinking highway, and I can bring up a sour subject, because you guys were just talking about it, with exit 168 and 171, which I was involved with too. That exit is, there should have been a light there, and that blinking light. I'll disagree with the police department on because safety with tractor trailers. Go look at exit 151 in Nutley. It's a similar exit with a hill. You have to turn. You have to put a light at this exit if all this development's going in, and you need to do that corner. And the Van Emberg blinking light, I think it should be a steady light at certain points during the day, because you're taking your life in your hand trying to make a left hand or go straight across to go from Hillsdale to IHA, or coming down that hill for that matter. It's terrible. But so obviously I know it seems like your hands are tied and you're going to make a decision tonight. But again, I question, why are all the other towns fighting this?
No, all the other towns are not fighting, Joe.
Well, I know 5 of them right around here are.
No, but there's 567 municipalities.
All right. I know 21 in Union County that are. It seems that we're just accepted. And I know you might not agree with me.
No, I'm just saying, when you say they're all fighting, Hohokus is not fighting.
If you guys feel that this is the best, then let it be on your hands.
By the way, you're right about the available land, and that's why we got a vacant land adjustment. You were here why it was explained how we do get the vacant land adjustment. That diminishes the obligation that we have because
right.
a lot of these factors that you're talking about, were taken into consideration. I mean, you know that.
Right. The overlay is a little, it's basically, it's great. If I was the owner of that property, I could put on a proud face forever. Yeah, I'm not gonna sell out, you know, I'm not saying Mr. Duffy from Stone Mill, but if a developer comes in, you guys, and you have no control over the overlay, like, you know, I know the state had just picked it geographically. You know, he had brought up, well, why wasn't
1 minute, Joe.
the swim club, you know, available, you know,
No,
something
what
like that.
happened was, we actually, there's a court-appointed special master in every case that's in litigation, and there was a court master who was appointed, and the court master was taken around, physically driven around the entire town.
Without the owners knowing about it.
Well, on the streets, Joe, to look at the properties.
Right.
No, they have the map, they have the topography.
But what I'm saying, I know my time is up, but I'm saying the owners of the Y and the owners of Stoneville had no clue that their properties were designated.
I understand, but what I'm saying is, you said, did the state pick them? I said, no, the state didn't pick them. What happened was this, just what actually happened was
Right.
the special master went around, and even though and we have other vacant land in town too, we do have vacant land.
No, I know.
But, with slopes and with locations and this and the other thing, this is what was identified as potential overlay zones. I mean, you could have an overlay zone even on the shopping center. There are things where you could have building above the shopping center. There's other, but the lands that were looked at and which were kind of identified by the special master were these two properties as the two properties. So I just want to tell you.
I understand. My time is up, I understand, I respect that. I just,
you.
planning board meeting, zoning, the council should get involved and have the cameras on for the people.
Phyllis.
And Mr. Fisher with the Turnpike Authority, I was involved. Please, you guys all have the plan, the aerial shot that I show you. A new exit should go in right up by the BMW Corporate Center. It'll lead you.
I was advised
You have
to
the
send,
documents.
I was advised to
All right.
send it to him and not the other company.
Anybody else?
Just, Mr. Bruno, I want to give you an update. I was in touch with Mr. Statiel about the invert on Prospect. It is part of the work. The mayor's announcement only addressed the milling and paving, any of the storm drain repairs or invert work. There's also some concrete ramps that the mayor didn't mention are happening on Mountain, and that may happen before or at the end of the milling. So just if Mr.
I'm sorry,
Napoli
so
is
they fixing the sewer, is that what you're saying?
the invert.
Oh, the invert. Okay.
Yes, that was not omitted from the program, it just wasn't highlighted in the
Okay.
list of roads.
He didn't put it in the list.
Okay, is there anybody else? Just made it in time, Fred.
I didn't realize that. Good evening, Mr. Council President, and members of the council. I did come to voice my concern about the parking, the sign ordinance that's
You
going
have
to
to
be put.
name and address.
I'm sorry, Fred Getz, 587 Washington Avenue, Township of Washington. But I understand I'll have an opportunity to speak about that when the ordinance comes up. So I'll limit the conversation to that. Just to that effect, though, I've gone online and I've looked to see what the ordinances are on the agenda, and the resolutions are posted, but the ordinances are never, I don't know what they are, and I don't know if the public is able to know what's actually going to be discussed. For instance, tonight, it says that there's a sign ordinance about parking, addressing parking in the Township of Washington. But from my understanding, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of homes affected by that ordinance, and probably nobody knows what that means or what that is. So I would ask it in the future if we could actually post the ordinances so that we know if we want to come to a council meeting or need to come to a council meeting to address our concerns. Secondly, I just want to, the mayor had said that paving is going to begin, and you had mentioned Monroe, south of Washington. So I just wanted to make sure that the administrator is aware that if they're going to be paving that part, I brought up a few months ago about handicap ramp not being installed at that corner of Washington and Monroe. I don't know if that can be addressed when they're paving, or if it should be, so that they don't have to come back and do that later.
Yeah, we'll look at it.
What street, I'm sorry?
Corner of Monroe and Washington.
And what was the issue?
Several years back, the handicap ramps were installed on county roads. We, I believe, got a grant for that, but not all of them were done. There was a couple other ones throughout town, and my apologies, I was supposed to get back to you with a couple of other addresses. I don't think I ever did, but I will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Getz, can I address your question on the ordinance?
Sure.
please? If you go to the mayor and council page, and you're on that page where it has the agendas,
Okay,
there's a separate page with all the ordinances.
okay, so there's a separate
hyperlink.
page.
Right, but, and it says the ordinances right under mayor and council.
Okay,
There's a hyperlink to each and every ordinance, and what I've had the webmaster do is the introduction date is listed, the adoption hearing, once it's approved for introduction, the adoption hearing date will go on there, and then I have the effective date of each ordinance.
okay.
All right?
Oh, wonderful. I wasn't aware. I thought
That's
that
okay.
that was
It's
just
changed. It's
ordinances
changed.
that were already in effect.
No,
Okay.
and, you know, they're there, and then the resolutions are on the agenda page for introduction, if you want to put on for approval.
Okay.
Once they're signed, they're put onto the other page. We have a whole list of all your resolutions that have been passed and signed.
All right, that's great that they're on there. Perhaps a note, because I don't know how many other people have the same problem, if it has been recently changed. So, on the part where it says agendas, and it lists the ordinances with that.
It does,
Okay,
it does. At the top of the page, there's a note that says, because we had a feeling that was gonna happen.
okay. Well,
Directing you to each
thank you. I'm
page.
glad to know they're out there.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Got these latecomers just dropping in.
Good evening. I would have come before, but...
No, I'm kidding. Fred just showed up and jumped up here, and now you did, so.
Who's
Well,
next?
This is not a campaign speech, although I'm a candidate for Republican
No, we're not supposed to,
councilman.
I'm supposed to say that.
My
Thank you.
name's Arthur Cumming, and I live at 35 Brayburn, and I occasionally do things wrong. But I just lost my place in this, but you have all the ordinances you need for sidewalks. 173. If you'll refer to 173, one of them is 173.7 and the other one is 173.8. Sidewalks, 173.8. Your code enforcement officer can go out and write them a notice and then require them to fix it, and then you can ticket them and fine them. And if they're out of state, you can have the judge swear out a warrant for them. That's sidewalks. I looked on it up at home because I saw we were floundering.
When was that done, sir?
Excuse me? That's in your property maintenance ordinances right now. I don't know when it was.
Can you just address us, please, so that we can keep going?
Sorry.
That's okay.
I was. The other one, sir, is 173.7. That is your full property maintenance ordinance, although it's only a paragraph with about 7 or 8 items. It is somewhat complete, although it needs a lot of improvement, and I would like to work on it and suggest improvements for the benefit of the town. And that requires that weeds and grass, for instance, be cut. There are 2 implications to this. Number one, you can go on any property and cut all the weeds and grass, put a lien on the house, and then bill it to the taxes, which we do every day. I'm employed by the Borough of Fairlawn as property maintenance officer. So I have specific knowledge and experience, about 12 years, in working with the prosecutor and the judge. You can also ticket anyone, anywhere. It's a little hard overseas, such as I've had cases in Japan, China, and Korea, because they don't allow us to extradite or have comfortable laws with that. But what will work is that if someone is in Florida, you send them a notice, you give them a decent period of time in order to respond, and after that, you write them a summons. And they have to come to court. If they don't come to court, the judge has the power to swear out a warrant. The $500 warrant pulls them in pretty quickly, or $1,000, or whatever. And apparently, because of the gravity of this situation and the concern, because it's close to a school, that this should have been done, and should be done now. What we do in Fairlawn is, yes, we get the pool treated, which you've done with some foresight and some effort, and you've cleaned it up. You can get rid of the van, you can get the house fixed up, you can get everything done. And you don't have to use the DMF guys to do it. You can hire contractors if need be. and the whole thing becomes a lien, and then it becomes a summons, and then the people will have to respond from Florida who still own the house. The bank does not own the house. The bank has a fiduciary interest, unless there have been papers that we may not be aware of, right, Mr. Polar?
Right.
The bank does not own the house. The bank has a fiduciary or financial interest in the house. When you buy a car, the dealer doesn't own your car, even though you take out a loan. You own the car. You insure the car. It's registered under your name. Yes, there's a lien holder who's on your title. It's the same thing with the house. The bank is not responsible for that house until it is foreclosed upon, and that is done. Every town is required to be sent foreclosure notices by the banks when foreclosure is instituted. So you should, hopefully, although the banks are very good at getting out of this, from my experience of 12 years, in avoiding notifications. But you can send notifications to the bank, and in some cases, they must respond, and I am right now ticketing several banks in order to follow up and force them to try to deal with the issue. But the town clerk receives notices of foreclosure every month about these things. The last thing is, there were things that were said that were right and that were wrong in my understanding of the situation about the Seasons Corner, which I also go past every day leaving Northgate, also known as the Village of the Damned, because of our financial situation, on my way to work. When you go past that bush obstructs the corner. That is against state law. I can email that to you tomorrow for your information. It is also against your ordinance for maintaining a property regarding saplings, weeds, and overgrowth. The property owner is responsible for property out to the curb, which I believe Ms. Gross said, or something like that, out to the curb of his property, even though it is in, quote, the public right-of-way. The public right-of-way is just a right-of-way. They have the right to use it, to pave it, and to go on it as a street. But the property owner still owns it all the way out. So the property owner should be required to cut down that offensive bush immediately. And anything that's over 30 inches high on any corner should be cut down for public safety. Do I need to clarify anything?
No, I think that's what we said Mary Ann was going to do.
Yeah, no, that's, yeah.
Okay. So thank you for clarifying.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hold on, somebody might come in.
Before the door opens, I see no hands. Motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calhoun?
Yes.
Councilman Calcio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Okay. We're now moving to adoption. Correct me, Ken, if I'm wrong, but I'm going to adoption, second reading, ordinance 1707.
Did we approve the minutes?
What's that?
Are we going to approve the minutes?
No,
That's
the
the next
minutes are
meeting?
next, the minutes are next meeting.
Gotcha.
Excuse me, Bob?
Yes.
Even though these look pretty short, we have a lot of residents, I think, waiting for the parking. Can we maybe put that one ahead of these two?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will discuss ordinance 1709, an ordinance revising certain time limit parking within the Township of Washington. Resolution number 17-261, authorizing second reading and opening for public hearing for ordinance 1709. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Councilman Calhoun?
Yes.
Councilman Calcio?
Recuse.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Christine?
Christine Rydell, 302 Hickory. So, with regards to this parking ordinance 17-09, I do understand both sides of it. I understand the safety concern for residents who live near the school, who have young children. I myself have a young child. I also understand parents and students who want their children or themselves to be able to park at the school. I am a graduate of Westwood High School. I graduated in 2004. At that time, parking was a senior privilege. If there were additional parking spaces available, juniors were entered into a lottery based on when they received their license and they were able to park. So I don't understand I guess there's a large senior class incoming, is my understanding, some 260 or so students?
236.
Okay, so that's far larger than my, I think, 168 students that I had. So that's one thing, the parking. I understand that there was the possibility that OLGC would lease spots to the school for the students to park. There are issues for both parties with regards to that. One, it's a liability issue for both the school as well as the church. The church is now allowing the people to come onto their private property and use spots during the school day. That's a liability issue. I'm in the insurance field, so I understand that liability issue there. It's also a liability issue for the school, who's now having students park across the street and now walk across Pascack Road to go to school. There is a police officer there directing traffic. They're not necessarily there crossing students. Other issues that I have regarding this is, I know one of the issues was that residents were concerned that there wasn't enough space to allow the passage of emergency vehicles. Very important, we need our emergency vehicles to be able to pass through. However, if we examine the situation, it seems to me that the snow removal needs to be handled more efficiently. There is, and it's on our township website, it lists the snow removal procedure, and that cars are not supposed to be parking on the street when there's 3 inches or more of snow in order to allow us to remove the snow. I constantly see during snowstorms 3 or more inches that cars are parked on the street, making our plows have to go around the vehicles. I've had it happen to me before, where our neighbors share the same snow removal company. The plow has to go around, leaving a large deposit of snow in front of my home, which is also in front of the fire hydrant. So one thing there might be ticketing and towing the vehicles that are illegally parked during those snow emergencies where they really shouldn't be parked there. That would alleviate the situation. I also am thinking that maybe we should explore the possibility of doing a resident parking, an alternate side of the street parking situation, because my husband and I have 2 vehicles. We have a small driveway, as many of the homes in our area do. A lot of the houses up and down Hickory Street and other streets have cars that, driveways that fit 2 cars max. We have 2 SUVs, they barely fit in the driveway. So sometimes it's easier for families who, some families have more than 2 cars and don't have room for it. So, it would be nice to have the option to park our vehicles in the street. Hickory Street, we are not affected. There are students, I understand the streets that are closer, but I'm a half a mile away from the school. There are students, and I could almost guarantee it because I know what happened when I went to school, who live closer to the school than that and drive to the school still. So, Hickory Street, Mountain, I don't understand why those streets are being affected. And like I said, this didn't really bother me until all of a sudden my street was affected, and then all of a sudden my ears perked up and I said, wait, hold on, what's going on? No, I don't like that. So, I'm not here to say that there's not an issue. There is an issue. There's an issue with not enough parking. There's also an issue where, yes, there are parents concerned because there are students driving way too fast down these streets. And it's not just the students. Like I said, I have neighbors who up and down my block all the time. My husband's a police officer and goes, "Whoa, that was 45." So there is an issue there, and I don't know how to remediate the situation. But I'm thinking that maybe a sticker, maybe alternate side of the road parking is a better solution than blanket statement. Nope, 2 hours, that's it. No, you can't have work done on your house because your contractor can't park there for more than 2 hours. What do we do in those situations? What do we do if somebody has people over? Guys, it's 1 hour and 45. You gotta hurry up, speed it up. You gotta leave. It doesn't seem to make sense to me. There has to be an alternate solution. So that's all I have to say.
So just so you understand the streets, when we block off signs on one street, they move to the next street.
Right, of course.
And all the neighbors come, the police actually canvass the houses to see what the thought process is. And then the residents come in and say, I don't want them on my street.
Right.
And we can't put up signs because the ordinance didn't cover that street. So it was more the intention of blocking a block
Okay,
of streets, and I don't think anyone's gonna park on Mountain Avenue.
okay.
But the idea was to say, let's just block everything off. And if the residents come and say,
Right.
I don't want them on our street, we don't have to do an ordinance, pass it, read it, and put up signs.
So then will
So-
it not
so-
be enforced then?
No, we will have it.
Okay,
Nothing can be enforced unless there's signs,
okay,
just so you understand.
okay.
Okay, so, and that's something that Madam Mayor is working on, getting the signs. But I don't think the intention is to throw up signs from here to Mountain Avenue up to Lincoln and then around.
Right,
The idea was just to block off these areas so that we have control of what areas we can put the signs in.
right, but by saying that, so I get what you're saying, so you're being more cautious
Right.
in adding all of those streets, but that's still, even though there's not a problem, it's still impacting the residents who live there. And another thing, and I just
Only
remembered.
if there's signs.
Okay, so what you're saying is you're not necessarily gonna put
Well,
those signs or including them in the
We're not
ordinance?
gonna block up, we're not gonna go all the way to Mountain with all these signs. We're gonna see how it goes, and then the police canvass the streets, I believe, correct? Isn't that your goal?
We're gonna start on the perimeter.
No,
and
I
then-
understand that, yeah.
I just want to ask one thing. You said that they allowed juniors to park if there were spaces left over?
I know that that was the situation
They
when I
don't
was in
allow
school.
juniors.
They don't allow that anymore, okay,
So that's an issue too.
okay.
And the other thing is, when you're talking about them walking, what happens is when they all park, their friends come and pick them up. So then the street is totally
Right, okay.
blocked with the cars going there
Right.
to pick them up. Plus, we had a lot of problems with landscapers who were trying to cut lawns. They couldn't
course.
get there because, cars are parked, they couldn't even park their
Right.
vehicle to cut. So it is a lot of other, there are a lot of other things that go into this.
Right.
But, Council President Bruno and I met with the school people several times, and, we need them to also come up with a solution,
Right,
which has not been forthcoming.
right.
So, it's a very difficult situation, but the school really needs to have more parking.
Well, and with regards to the ordinance as well, I know that the way that it reads on the website, because I read the ordinance, was that it's on school days. There's no specification in there if that just means between the hours of 8 and 3 between school hours, or if it's just, midnight to midnight, that's it, Monday through Friday, there's no parking. It just says school days, it does not specify a time. So that's something as well, at least if it does, I missed that. So that's something that, because if this is something that's gonna be passed, I understand that, but if somebody's having somebody over a gathering at like 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night, you can't have more than 2 hours of parking, you know what I'm saying? I feel like there needs to be more clarification
Yeah,
on
I
there.
don't think it'll go to 8 o'clock at night, but I hear
Right,
what you're saying.
but
So
the
we'll
ordinance should
look at the
really
ordinance.
set forth the
It should
time
be the school
constraint.
hours,
Yeah,
like
school
8:30.
Then I feel like that should be specified in the ordinance if the ordinance
Okay,
goes
or
through.
on the sign, so,
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Bob, I'd just like to make a quick comment. Part of the problem that we're having by blanketing the whole town, even if, or a big part of the town, if we don't put the signs up, but we blanket it, this is the only opportunity that people have on those streets to voice anything, because then we can just put signs up as needed. So I appreciate all of you who might be from Mountain Avenue and further being here, that even if we don't put those signs up now, this is your opportunity to be heard, because once it's on the books, then we can just put the signs out without getting your inputs. I appreciate all of you being here.
Well, they can always get input if they don't like it. They're always welcome to come and talk to us.
That's for sure.
Michael DeSena, 347 Beach Street. Thank you for listening to me. I researched this with other municipalities, and I just want to get some clarification from Mr. Poller. In the municipalities that actually enforce this 2-hour time limit, it is a huge, huge time factor for the police department, because by state statute, you have to chalk everybody's tires and put the time in order for you to write a ticket. is that how our police department is going to enforce this? So they're going to drive up and down all these streets and get out of their car and chalk a tire, because the tire has to match that chalk line, because that's the only way you can enforce it, or you have to take a video picture of it and then come back 2 hours later and take another video picture of it. How are we going to legally enforce this ordinance, Mr. Pollard? That's what I'd like to know. And has anybody thought of this? Because I called up Hasbrook Heights. They actually have a full-time volunteer fireman that works for the borough of Hasbrook Heights. And he walks up and down the boulevard with a chalk stick. And he chalks the tires. And then he goes back 2 hours later. People now know if they move their tire a quarter of an inch and the chalk doesn't match, they can't get a ticket. But in Washington Township, how are you going to know that the car's been there more than 2 hours? Is it, you know?
Well, they did give some summonses, so I'll have to see what they did.
I'm just curious how it would, you know, how are we enforcing this ordinance? Maybe nobody has done, I did my due diligence, and I called up a bunch of towns that have this issue, and they all said they have to chalk it, because how do you prove that a car's been there for 2 hours? I know everybody's, you know, that was my question.
Well, I would defer to the police.
Yeah, I mean, as Mr. Hackbar.
They did give summonses, so I'll have to check to see.
What is, I'd like an answer back on what the procedure is going to be for somebody to determine if the car's been there for 2 hours. Because I think it's a legitimate question. And based on what my responses I got from other towns, I mean, they're using, you know, they have a main boulevard that it's an issue because the shop owners park there and they're trying to get the cars to move so they can get, you know, patrons in there. But in our town, it would mean somebody would have to get out of the car and chalk or do something. I mean, because how do you know that they got there at 10:01 and it's 12:01 and at 12:02 you can write them a ticket?
Yeah, I think the intention also is obviously they have to be there at a certain hour to start school. And I know when I've spoken to the chief of police, he actually spends time on these streets in the morning.
So is he is he recording? I'm just curious how
I don't know if he records it, but I know he's there in the morning and he's there in the afternoons because we've had this problem. But, you know, the students have to be there at a certain hour so they can see what's on the streets. And either he phones it in, or I don't know. But
yeah, I'm just curious how we're tracking.
I know he's been there, so we can double check with him.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, Bart LaSquadro, 158 Hickory Street. My wife is also a graduate of Westwood High School. In 1981, they had close to 400 graduates that year. What did they do then? You're talking 230?
Well, for the fall now, seniors
Okay.
would be 236.
Did you not know that there was that many students when they were in 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade? Why is it waited until now to do something about it? They had 400 graduates in 1981. We're talking 230 something.
I don't feel that we're waiting till now to do something. I think we've tried to approach it systematically. We've added streets to the ordinance. You know, I've been on 18 months. This was the first issue that came to my door on Eaton Place. And, you know, I drove by and there was no parking, or there was parking allowed, and cars were literally to the driveway on this particular house on each side, and there was a car on the other side. So they literally could not back out of their house. So we've added some streets at that time. And all we did was push it down the road. And we've pushed it down the road multiple times. I was the one who suggested just do it town-wide, and there was immediate blowback from some of the councilmen and the residents. I feel that this is warranted. Alternate side, I don't think works, because the issue is not how, to me, the issue is the students, as much as their parents think they are good drivers, obey all the laws, take their garbage, put it in their back pocket, and put it in the receptacle when they get to the office. I personally witnessed atrocious parking, littering, a disregard for speeding, a disregard for any semblance of civility on the road. And this is what we've come to. So the school does not provide for parking for the students. I mean, I don't know how many years ago you were speaking of. Not everyone had a car. I think we've become a more affluent society. We've become a more affluent town. People have cars. A lot of people have cars. It may not have been an issue back then. It's an issue now. I feel that this allows the town the greatest flexibility. If we put no parking on all of these streets, it's not to say that people won't start parking even further north, but, you know, something has to be done. The school, we've reached out to them. They don't have an appetite to add any more parking. They don't have an appetite to do alternate days access to the lot. OLGC, you know, that discussion apparently didn't result in anything. So, you know, we are at this point. I feel that this is an approach that can be used successfully, and we will see if it's going to be successful.
The following year, is there a drastic reduction in?
This year, there was 180. This is really the first year we've had, you know, a bigger problem with the parking. And we did start out, as Mr. Ullman mentioned, we started surveying the people on those streets because they were coming out here. And so where they voted, you know, to put it, we put it in. But then everybody kept pushing down. But the police chief did sat there every morning in an unmarked car and in the afternoon. And every morning there was at least 41 cars parked on these streets, 20 on one side, 20 on the other.
Mm-hmm.
And what also he's saying about leaving Dunkin' Donuts cups there and parking on the wrong way on the street, and, you know, it was not a good situation. And again, I don't know what the year after is going to bring in terms of, you know, how many students, but it is an issue. There are, you know, things out there we could do, like safe routes to school grant, but, you know, the school has to be able to, you know, go with it and work with us on it. And again, it's a really tough situation. But it was even, we had similar things up at Macklehart Academy, but it kind of worked out. So it's not just here, but again, everybody's driving to school, no matter, and then like they park far away from the school to get, but people come, their friends come and pick them up. And really the safest thing is to park on the school lot if they can fit, because they're there, they're self-contained, they're not running across the street or waiting for their friend to come. And it's really, the school has to also try to work it out.
Well, my concern is, I work second shift, so I'm home during the majority of school hours, and I can't park in front of my house during school hours. You know?
Yeah, I know, but we still can't have all these people parking all over the place, because again, landscapers can't get to somebody's house. I mean,
If I may add something too, sir, as a first responder, firefighter in this town that usually drives the first fire truck to a fire call, there's times I could barely make the turn around the corner because they're parked all the way up to the corner.
Up to the corner.
And there's times where they park within a foot of a fire hydrant, which some of the citizens have sent us pictures. They just back up to the fire hydrant. It's not, it's really a bad situation when you're trying to drive a 60-ton fire truck and it's so narrow you can barely get by. But I have driven through the school parking lot around 9 o'clock, and there are multiple open spots in that lot, and I don't understand. And what I was told is that every senior can request a parking spot, but not every senior has a car. So some of those spots are left open just in case he may drive and get the car one day. So I think the school has an obligation to sort out these problems. And I understand, and trust me, I understand kids like to drive. I mean, we all did when we grew up. But we have to respect the people on the block, and especially the hundreds of citizens where they put their garbage out or the recycling only to find it thrown on their lawn in a car park where it was.
And that was occurring too.
And it's not something that they get it in the morning, and then in the afternoon, the peeling out, the loud noise, the children that are walking down the street. We're in a catch-22 here. You know, we got neighbors we have people that pay high taxes, they want a nice home, a nice community. And these are all not all Washington Township students, there's Westwood students coming in here also. The balance is, we need to do something. And if the school board refuses to talk to us or work with us, there's plenty of spots. I just feel that we had to do something.
I can respect what you said as far as the fire truck and everything. I just don't know how they're going to enforce this when previous discussions were mentioned as far as snow parking, when there shouldn't, as far as snow. Overnight parking, I mean, it
I tell you what we
happens.
did do one morning, it was on Colonial Boulevard, it was one of the snow things we had. And we know, we didn't have any signs there yet, it wasn't passed for that road. And I did send the road department over to clear this up, because I was worried about what would happen on that street, if all the kids park, here's the curb and then the snow, and then the kids park, nobody will be able to get through, not even like one car. So I had them go over there and try to move it so that, until we get the signs up. But it is not a good situation. Very seriously, it is not. And I know it might inconvenience you for, well, I can't park my car on the street for 2 hours, whatever. But seriously, overall, this is the best we can do right now to keep some order and be able for people to enjoy, the kind of lifestyle they moved here for.
All I can ask is that if you're gonna enforce that you enforce the other, parking issues as well.
And like I said, I've had the chief out there every morning, he calls me up, how many cars are parked where and how they're driving. So we do have all that data.
Keep in mind too, I sat with Madam Mayor in front of the superintendent and the president of the school board, and we went through our issues. And it was quite interesting because, I said there are many residents that are not happy. We're trying to figure out the situation. What can we do? And they actually said, well, you know what? We're not getting any complaints from any of the parents. I said, of course you're not, because they're parking on our streets. But the flip side is they'll probably start getting complaints now, and maybe they'll have to do something for the students, because it's kind of a no-win for anybody here. But when you sit in front of a board and say, listen, we need help, and it's no help, they don't leave you much choice. So, we'll work with the police, we'll work with the residents, and hopefully get it done.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Bob, can I just make a couple of quick comments?
Sure.
Because I'm sorry to hold you off for just a moment, but I did some research late last week and even this morning. I went and counted the spots at the school. There's plus or minus 400 spots at the school. They are only opening 137 spots for students. To me, that's intolerable that, number one, we have that many other administrators, teachers. If anything, they should work it out to be closer to a 50-50 for students and administrators and teachers. There's 238 potential seniors that they have in their letter. Now, they want to spend $3 million for a new maintenance garage at that location, where easily they could put a parking lot in, and the maintenance garage could go, I'm sure, someplace else where you don't have a concentration of students who drive. So I see a lot of things here that the school board should be looking at, and I appreciate that all of you are here, but maybe you need to go to the next Board of Ed meeting and get on their case to say something also. The next meeting is August 24th at 7:30. I plan on going. I'd like to see as many of you there, because as Mr. Bruno said, they're not hearing that it's an issue. They need people to show up at meetings like you have here when it was brought to your attention about the ordinance, and tell them, you're their customers, we're their customers. Tell them you're not going to settle for this, and they have the land to do these things, and, they need to take another look. So I just wanted to get those comments out before the rest of you came up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeffrey Westfeld, 315 Fern Street. I have two questions as opposed to really making a statement about this. What is my remedy if I need somebody parked on my street for in excess of 2 hours during a given day, such as a person doing electrical work, plumbing, or other carpentry? And why is it that residents who actually live in those homes can't be issued permits, so they may be permitted to park something in front of their home for in excess of 2 hours?
So this is a question that I think we asked Madam Mayor, we were going to talk to the chief about.
I'll talk to the chief.
I mean, this came up last time, and we did talk about visitors passes or some sort of pass. So we have to continue the conversation to see what we can do.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have an answer for you right now, but
Well,
we did
assuming
bring
that
it
we
up.
don't receive a visitor's pass?
I'm
or
sorry?
Assuming that we don't get some kind of a visitor's pass, what do I do if I need somebody parked on the street for in excess of 2 hours during school hours?
I would suggest the same thing you do with overnight parking. Call the police department and let them know that you're at that address and your car is out in the street.
Okay.
And that would be, one possible solution until we come up with the passage.
Okay. Just one more question, I'm sorry, for you. You mentioned that students were parking illegally close to the corners and the
Yes.
fire hydrants.
Yes.
And then you couldn't get where you needed to be. Were those students ticketed at that time? And
I did not.
Some got warnings, some got tickets.
And if the tickets didn't change the situation, how is the new
No.
ticketing going to change the situation?
Didn't change.
I think if people, have that much discretionary income that they can pay a parking ticket every day for 180 days, then we have other issues.
Okay.
So, I think the police initially issued warnings. They were very aggressive in issuing those warnings, and then they followed up with tickets. As I said, I think many of the parents of high school-age children believe that their kids park, carry their garbage out, don't blast their radio, don't speed, don't do a lot of things. I think all five of us, and probably the mayor and the administrator, are witness to other behaviors, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Bruno, let me just make a quick comment, and again, I'm recusing myself from voting on this, but as you know, I live on the corner of Beach and Ridgewood Road, okay? I have a business out of my house, and it probably affects me more than anyone else, but I knew when I moved into town that I was by a school, and, I'd probably have to deal with some type of parking issue. So this is how I solved it for myself and my patients that use the street as my guest parking lot for my patients. I go out at about 7:30 every morning. I take my two cars, I park them in front of my house. Obviously, other vehicles can't park there. At 8:05, I commute back to my office, 30 feet, and I got two open spots. And no one has ever parked between 8 o'clock and 3 o'clock on that day. So again, it doesn't sound like an optimum situation, but it works for me, and that's what I've done. So if you're around, you said you were at home, sir, go out, park your car in front of your house, move it when they're in school, and I don't have a problem. So it might work for other people. Just a suggestion.
I'm sorry. Oh, I saw.
Hi, Christine Romero, 189 Hickory Street. I agree that the students parking on the streets are a problem. It's the juniors, not the seniors, that are parking on the street because there's parking for the seniors in the lots at school. I agree it's a problem, but I think it's unfair to punish the homeowners that we can't park in front of our house anymore. I mean, people have brought up a decal for the homeowners so that they could have a permit to park in front of their own house, or their guests could. Another thing is, instead of putting up signs that say 2-hour parking, have the sign say no commuter parking, residents only are allowed to park on the resident streets. I don't know why the students that are not parked properly on the streets are not given tickets more often to stop it from happening. You mentioned something about thousands of warnings were given out or something like that?
No, I don't think thousands of warnings. I think they aggressively issued warnings, and then they followed up with tickets. I don't know the quantity of tickets that were issued, but I do know that tickets were issued.
They even gave letters before like a street was gonna be posted, so everybody would kind of know it. They was trying to be proactive, the police, you know, and tell them this is gonna happen on Monday or whatever day the new signs are going up.
I heard that there were surveys done of the residents. We've never had a survey done on Hickory Street. I don't know what surveys were done or who was surveyed. Maybe you had to be home during the day to have somebody knock on your door. Somebody said something about police going around surveying.
The roads that were surveyed were the ones that had the problem, like Sussex, Colonial,
South Chestnut,
Ridgewood, South Chestnut, where the problem was existed.
Woodfield.
Okay.
Those were the roads that were surveyed.
So I think if you did something more like there's no commuter parking on the streets, or giving us a permit, because I think it's unfair that I can't park my car in front of my house, or when we're carpooling somewhere, you know, we meet at my house and then people leave their cars and then we take one car to carpool. It's punishing us, not the people that are actually causing the problem. I don't want all these students parking on my streets either, I agree. But I know the school has a senior-only parking, and the juniors are the ones that are parking on the streets.
So we will, again, have a conversation with the traffic captain and the chief about visitor permits so that you can have something for parking. Again, it's just not a safe situation for the towns and the residents. I mean, we tried to block off this area just in case. I don't know if people are gonna be parking as far down as where you live or not, because you said, or someone said they live a lot closer than where you are. So we're gonna have to see what it is. But I think also, as Mr. Calamari said, you know, we all have to show up at the Board of Ed and ask him what the situation is, because there's no give there. I mean, there's just absolutely no conversation, no give. Can't do it, thanks very much.
That's a long-term thing, to put in a new parking lot at the school and to come up with the money. I'm not defending the school at all, but this is gonna happen
They're putting
immediately.
up a $3 million building soon to do a maintenance building.
I'm
sure
not
they can
getting
lock up
involved with what the school's doing. I'm just talking about what's gonna be happening very quickly.
No, I understand.
And how, you know, what if, you know, I need people to park on the street. We have a very small driveway. It holds 2 cars. And we have 2 cars. We don't have extra spaces for our guests to park in our driveway.
I will have a conversation also then with the police.
Okay.
Lori Andersano, 315 South Chestnut Street. I'll make it very brief. I live on a street that's obviously directly impacted by these students parking, and I just want to say thank you. I appreciate everything that you had to say. A few of us have been complaining, you know, May, June, when they started moving on to South Chestnut after Colonial was made 2 hours, and so we started complaining around that time, and I feel like you guys have definitely taken us seriously and noticed the safety issues for our children, and I just appreciate it. So I just wanted to say thank you. If it does go through, I know it's a hassle only being allowed to park for 2 hours. I agree, residents, of course, should be able to park in front of their home, and contractors, guests, you know, that sort of thing. But at this point, in my opinion, for myself, beggars can't be choosers. I will take the 2-hour parking so that students can't park in front of my home. So just thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Neil Mandano. I live at 259 South Chestnut Street. I too would like to thank you for taking this issue seriously. I have lived through it for multiple years. I too did not want parking, 2-hour parking on my street, until it became such a chaotic situation As was addressed with fire trucks, mail trucks, landscape trucks, I couldn't even park my own car. Became a major issue, and as you know, as there's been no parking signs on Woodfield and Sussex and Presidents and Suckle, Honeysuckle, as well as Eton, the problem just spreads. It is a senior privilege at the high school to park there, and only seniors get that privilege. The problem has been mostly with juniors, but I understand this coming school year, all the seniors aren't going to get parking, then the juniors are going to have to park, and it's just going to continue to spread out. 2 hours is reasonable. I think a parking sticker as a resident is very, very good suggestion and good idea that, hey, I'm a resident, I can park here, which would alleviate the 2-hour parking issue if it's difficult for some of the residents. It's a quality of life issue too. There's no sidewalks. This neighborhood is a walking neighborhood. People can't walk with their children, they can't ride their bicycles, they can't walk, they have to go in between cars. And then it's the chaotic situation in the morning and in the afternoon. They're teenagers, they do what they do. They're not bad kids by any means, and some of what has been done has been addressed by the council here in a knowing fashion. So I thank you for that. If there's not going to be signs put throughout this entire ordinance, I ask that you put them on South Chestnut Street and the surrounding area around the school so it doesn't continue to spread. I have been in contact with the school board, have personally emailed with Dr. Gonzalez, and they make it a total non-issue and turn their face. So I agree with you. We should all go to the next school board meeting, and when it becomes a school problem, then and only then will it not be a town problem. So again, thank you for your attention to this. I appreciate it, and I look forward to no parking signs.
Is there anybody else?
Alexander Ruiz, 534 Cypress Street.
Which street, I'm sorry?
Cypress.
Okay.
I just think it's a little ironic that we're discussing this ordinance that will primarily affect teenagers. That there are nobody in this room that will be affected by it, driving it. I mean, that's not your fault. It's probably most people that are going to be juniors and seniors have no idea this ordinance is being discussed. I just wanted to raise some concerns that this is coming to be passed. Was there any discussion with the town of Westwood and the citizens of Westwood with their students driving? Because I'm sure the parents of the kids in Westwood really don't give a crap about where their kids park in Washington Township to get to school. And furthermore, if there's going to be any way of past the implementation to inform the students that this ordinance was passed, because I know I only graduated high school 4 years ago, that there's a lot of things going on in your life when you're 17, 18 years old, and being a 17, 18-year-old in 2017 is a lot different than it was 20 years ago. So showing up to school and seeing the sign that says you're only allowed to park for 2 hours and you just had no idea, and then you have that whole thing to deal with, it's a huge burden on a 17, 18-year-old that for most of us in this room would not be as big as a burden. That's just a couple of concerns I had.
So the superintendent and the president of the board do send out communications to the students, and we've asked them also with the garbage and the parking and the driving and the speeding. So we should give Dr. Gonzalez a call and just tell them that we're putting these ordinances and they should send out a note to all their students, right? Period.
Plus,
Council President, I think he knows about it, and he just doesn't care.
Yeah, but if we tell them, now we're telling you, so let everybody know, thanks very much, to gentleman's point,
Well, I was just going to mention too that the juniors, typically it's not until October 1 because that's the cutoff date. So there'll be a month of school before this will really affect any juniors.
So we can just send them a note, tell them, let everybody know, which we'll do.
I think in terms of these youngsters, they may be impacted. People who drive from Westwood, who drive from the other side of Washington Township will certainly be impacted. Again, I think it's a balancing act, and, you know, I support this ordinance. I feel it achieves what I would like to see achieved, which is, you know, decreased traffic on these streets, safe parking, you know, safe passage for the residents. And, you know, if these individuals don't read the signs, you know, there's a penalty. You know, we don't send a note out that, you know, the speed limit's 25. I mean, it's a posted sign. You know, they'll get a lesson in civics when they show up at court, have to pay their fine.
Also, the police have discretion. I would hope for the first week or so they would issue warnings before they would issue tickets.
Joe Durso, 12 Aola Terrace. So it sounds like, Council President Bruno, but, you know, that you're going to inform the school, you're voting on it tonight. So obviously, you have to vote on it first to pass it. I know one councilman is recusing himself, so I'm not sure where everybody else stands. It doesn't affect my life at all because I live in a cul-de-sac behind Oratani Bank, so I don't think kids are parking over there. I do feel for people with the limitations. I know your hands are tied because of the complaints. I did have a sidebar conversation with Councilman Calamari a few weeks ago. Some people getting in an uproar because maybe you're going against the church in town or, you know, a higher authority, but they have the perfect solution. Mr. Ullman, you said that's a dead issue. Mr. Calamari, you said you're working on it to me. So my other question was, most people don't realize, is that there was an outlandish price of $50,000. You tell me that a year, you tell me that was a wrong number that they proposed?
Yes, it was a miscommunication. I won't say between who, but basically the church thought they were pricing out the whole lot. And that's where they came up with that number. I was waiting to say that the pastor is on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
He promised me an answer as soon as he gets back from vacation.
Okay.
You know, Ridgewood has an agreement, their school system, with a neighboring church that we got copies of, and I've shown him and the school board, and everyone seems in favor of it. We're not reinventing the wheel. So, like I said, he promised me an answer when he gets back.
And I know, and I understand you have, whether it passes or not tonight, obviously you need to have a majority, so it needs, all four of you need to be on, or whatever. You're recusing yourself, so it depends on the vote tonight, whether it's gonna go through or not. So it sounds like it is, and that's great that you're gonna inform the school if it does go through. But, like, maybe a suggestion, and you're right, everybody should go to the school board. Tom, and I'll compliment you. 6 weeks ago, you brought up an issue that people, again, feel like, you know, maybe they shouldn't say publicly, but vetting. You know, there's a lot more kids in this school. My son graduated in 2008. It was with 137 kids. I mean, this man back here is 1981. CRI graduated also, 400 kids. But again, everybody wasn't driving at that time. And plus, you didn't have two towns using a school system. You know, my school was my own town. But the church, maybe the church is, you know, you don't have to force anybody. It's just called being a good neighbor and not taking advantage of the situation. I know for years the high school rented space over at the Sullivan Center. You know, then they didn't. You know, I don't. You know, it shouldn't be. You know, maybe they're upset over it, but maybe a suggestion, and maybe it could be suggested, since maybe you know Father Cinque over there. Maybe make an agreement for the teachers and the staff to park there and open up the spots. You know, maybe they don't want kids throwing garbage. Maybe the teachers and staff might be another option, but at a more reasonable price. But, you know, I know it's a tough situation. Some people are happy that, you know, the signs are going in. Some people aren't. You know, the resident decal, so it'd be, you'd have to almost literally put a decal for a resident on such a street, you know, because then, you know how it works. People can apply for a decal, come in, the clerk can give them a decal, and kids are all going to have decals on their cars. You know, there's always a game, there's always a way. But I mean, you guys are in a tough situation, but really, if you have a connection to the church, hopefully they can have be a little bit more lenient with a better price for the town. Because remember, you got Westwood, and us paying the taxes in this town, and I know you can't force people to do things, but that's probably your best solution if the church becomes a good neighbor and helps out with that. So it sounds like you have the
certainly
connection.
advocate for it.
So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Joe, I think again, it's a no-win situation here for everybody.
Catch-22, like you said.
But at the same time, you hear residents that aren't happy, the other residents who are concerned about the safety for their children. And I think as a governing body, we'll see how the vote goes, but, we have to address safety concerns first, work with the police department, work with the school. The school is not working with us at all. So, when they put you back up against the wall, until they get complaints, maybe it'll change. Anybody else?
Thank you. Fred Getz, 587 Washington Avenue, Township of Washington. Well, first, I do appreciate all the council and the administration trying to address this issue. No one is, as the first person that was up here said, no one's denying that there is an issue, and there are issues, and there have been for some time. I just did want to voice my concern because it feels like we're backing into something just to get it solved before the school year starts. There was no discussion on this, on the introduction of the ordinance. The only discussion on this ordinance has been tonight, at least any public discussion. I think you're getting a lot of input that, and a lot of suggestions that weren't addressed, but I keep hearing, we'll look into that. Maybe we can talk to the chief of police about that. Maybe we'll put that in place. Maybe we should limit the hours. All those things needed to be put into the ordinance before it's introduced and before it is voted upon. I think you should go back and revisit this. I don't think this is the best way to go. Again, just my opinion. I'm sure all of you have considered it, much more length than I have. But I hope that you would take all of these residents' concerns into account in possibly amending the ordinance. I don't think it's a safety issue. I think there are safety issues, but this ordinance is not going to solve any of those safety issues. If you have a problem turning the fire truck, do what they did on my block, because all the commuters, that's the other thing we haven't addressed, all the commuters, we put up signs, they all go down the block. It's not just the students. They park on my block in front of my house, but there's a 30-foot, no parking 30 foot away from the corner sign. You can address those issues with signs. You can address kids running across the street back and forth with enforcement at school hours. You're still going to get pickup and drop off of students that aren't parking their cars. The 2-hour ordinance, okay, now I can't park my car there, so your brother's going to have to pick you up at 3 o'clock, wait over here at this corner, and we're going to have cars pulling up to the corner to try and pick up and drop off students because they're not able to park. I think that I have concerns that this may create more safety problems, and I think it needs to be, resident stickers or some other issue might be worth putting the time in to rethink this and reintroduce this ordinance. Because again, my concern is that there will be more safety issues this going into effect. And as I said, it's not just the students. I have the problem with commuter parking because there's not enough commuter parking. So especially now, when the trains are all out of service, more people are taking the bus. So now I have cars in front of my house every day. I don't want to put up a sign because my neighbors just moved in. They have a moving truck, coming. They have contractors coming. They can't have people there. There's people there all day parked in the street. What happens when there's a track event or something during the week at the high school? All those people that are coming to the event, they have to park somewhere too. And those are hours long. But it's just going to keep going down the road. If you put it all the way up to Hickory and Mountain, then they're going to park on Lafayette and Cosman. Whatever you do, they're going to find more because there's a 3-mile radius to take the bus. So if they can get a half-mile closer than that 3 miles, that's where they're going to park. And they're going to be blocking somebody else's driveway. But again, I would just ask that the council reconsider introducing this with possibly some more narrow definition with regard to maybe no parking, more than 2 hour parking, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. or but by all means, put it on South Chestnut, because everybody seems to want it there. And that is a narrow street, and I could see that the fire truck would have a problem getting down there. But again, I would just hope that the council would take a little more time and possibly reintroduce this, rather than going back after the fact when we find out that we made more of a problem.
So, Mr. Getz, the thing I would say is, we're amending an existing ordinance. What is it, 7 chimneys? And, I mean, there are Woodfield, Eaton, I mean, there are existing streets that are covered by this ordinance that have been there since the beginning of time, or at least predating my 18 months on this. So in my mind, if it's a flawed ordinance, it's been flawed since it's been introduced at some point way back in time. I feel what we're doing is moving the, trying to eliminate an issue where there is a concentration of people who park. So if we have one street that, you know, Colonial had parking, it became an issue, we put no parking on, it moved to the next street. This was discussed, it's been discussed almost the entire summer, because it's been an issue that was raised last year. And the discussion that we've had is to create sort of a no parking exclusion zone. It's a square, it's a quadrant of town. Again, I said, make it the whole town. That way you have to put 5 signs up for every street that enters the town, 2-hour parking, and, you know, it's a done deal. People felt that was way heavy-handed. So, you know, this is what the council, I believe, came up with, agreed with, you know, I support. And if there is a flaw, if we're gonna have to speak to the chief or the administrator about a permit per resident, you're exactly right. It's just, the issue is just they're gonna pass them around, you know, they're gonna ask their aunt to get them a permit. So, to me, the ordinance is on the books. We are simply amending an existing ordinance by introducing additional streets. And, you know, again, I support it, and I'm going to vote this evening to pass it.
Right. And I appreciate that, and I, again, appreciate you putting the effort and the thought into it. I just, again, wanted to voice my concerns. I do worry about the safety issues, and I'm also sorry to hear that the school board is not cooperating. I have a feeling that's probably because they're also beholden to the taxpayers of Westwood, and they see this as a Washington Township issue, which, again, it falls right in your lap, and I understand that you're kind of backed into a corner. I just would hope that you would entertain other options before it's passed, so that we don't have any issues afterward. Thank you.
How you doing? John Andrisano, 315 South Chestnut Street, Washington Township. I just want to thank you all for taking the time tonight, and it sounds like hopefully this thing is going to be going through. At first, my wife and I, we were against it. We thought, you know, what do we need this for? And that was because the problem was not at our doorstep. Now the problem is at our doorstep, as you all know, being on South Chestnut Street. You know, this is the second time that we're here. I've mentioned before the incidents that we've had with, you know, kids ripping down the street and whatnot. Still was an issue after the fact of, you know, the last time that we were here. But the gentleman before that was saying that this is not a safety thing. It 100% is a safety issue, because, again, we have 2 kids, they play. Just the other day, there was a kid coming by with that I've seen numerous times during school hours, ripping by, going at least 60 plus miles an hour, followed by an Audi, his friend, followed by another car, and they were ripping around our house, the square block that we have. got outside, got dressed, confronted him. He was actually nice. I said, look, I know you go to school, at high school. He answers yes, and so do his friends. I said, look, I have kids here. I pointed, he saw the kids, and I said, look, this is not, the Indy 500. You guys, I don't know why you're going that fast. They're kids, I get it. They go fast, they got a new car, whatever. But when my wife and I, we moved into the town in 2009, we picked the area that we did because it was nice and quiet. And that has now changed because of this. At first we didn't agree to it, but now that the cars just kept piling up and kids ripping by, it's 100% a safety issue, and we're all for it, when it comes to 2-hour parking for, us and our family or whatnot, or safety of my children, there's no question about it. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Christian Sigley at 297 South Chestnut Street.
I'm sorry, should you just repeat it again?
297 South Chestnut Street, Christian Sigley. I believe we've talked before. Now I want.
Can you just please sit down so the microphone will pick
Oh,
up?
yeah. I'd just like to say thank you, that, I hope you guys consider voting yes for these parking. I mean, like I said before, I came from Morridale. I'm a new resident. The same reason I chose this, South Chestnut, because it was a quiet street. I wasn't aware of, otherwise I would have stayed in Morridale, where I was, to deal with crazy. I was on the St. John Street, was same street as the high school, so I was well aware of that. But now, the reason I moved to South Chestnut is because, for obvious reasons, it's quiet. That was more safety for my child. And he's about to turn 2. He's out running around. As a new parent, I have, I see now both sides. I was stupid, yeah, myself, but that doesn't. When a parent said, "Hey, slow down," I slowed down. And, I was respectful. I mean, I guess that's changed over the years. As a parent now, I've asked one of those kids to, "Hey, stop going at 50 miles an hour." They're like, "Oh, my dad." So it's like, all right, well, now I'm here. So, my hands were kind of tied. The one kid wanted to try to fight me for it. I'm like, well, okay. So, I hope you guys decide to vote on it yes. I don't mind the 2-hour parking. Like you said, there's other avenues we can address later. About that, that's, if it's residence parking permits or whatever, it can be addressed later, at a later time. But as far as right now the kids are gonna start going back to school at some point in September. I mean, it's not, the juniors are not gonna get their cars until October, but then again, growing up, I didn't have a car until the end of senior year. So I, rode my bike to school. I was coming from Edgewater, so I'm going to Leonia. So, nice hike, or I could have taken the bus. So it's not, I don't think Westwood and comparable to Edgewater and Leonia, I don't think that's much more of a difference of distance. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to think it over. Thanks.
Anybody else? I have a motion to close public hearing for ordinance 17-09.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calamari.
Yes.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Owen.
Yes.
Council President Bruno.
Yes. I have a motion to adopt.
Bob, before we vote, can I just make one more comment? Thank you.
Just don't accuse me of staying late.
For the 1 minute it should take me.
Right, Marion? Go ahead.
A lot of wild cards were brought up tonight. Excuse me. And in fairness to all the residents that this would affect, we owe them answers. To say we might do permits. OLGC might be a wild card. We need to talk to the police about enforcing distances that people park from the curb and fire hydrants. Also, a lot of people came to me who couldn't attend the meeting tonight with comments that, they couldn't be here, but they wanted their voice to be heard. In light of all of that, I'd like to make a motion to table this ordinance until we get answers to some of those questions. Not, I sympathize with everyone. I'm not looking to put it off indefinitely, but I think there's still enough outstanding questions to be answered that we owe the people answers to, that, to put it off till the next meeting certainly wouldn't hurt at this point.
And Peter, can you just articulate what those questions are?
Yeah, I think I just did, but I'm happy to
Well,
repeat it from my notes.
If parking from a fire hydrant, we have an ordinance for parking for a fire hydrant, we have ordinances for parking from curbs, we have ordinance for parking from a corner. Those ordinances are on the books, so I don't know if there's a question to be answered there, in my opinion. The issue of OLGC, that is a matter that, can move forward in conjunction with anything we do. If the Board of Education and OLGC come to an agreement, that's great. Then, these parking signs either won't be put up or possibly could be removed. And in terms of a visitor permit or a resident permit, today, last week, I had my driveway sealed. We have a no overnight parking ordinance. I called the police. I indicated that I was having work done on my house and I would be parking overnight in the street, and they agreed or acknowledged that, and I was not issued a ticket. So I guess, I hear what you're saying, but it's not clear to me what the questions that we need answered are.
Yeah, if I might add one thing, Peter.
Sure.
Unfortunately, my biggest frustration here is that the wheels of progress are slow to move. And, we've come up with questions that we need answers for. We have a list that we need answers for. By the time, in all honesty, in my opinion, by the time we get an answer that you're saying permits and this and that, I think we need to get the signs up. We need to get them up so that the kids can't park there, so that they don't disrupt the neighborhood. And then I think we have to work on what's left, because if we're gonna sit here and wait for answers, this will be forever. We're gonna be here next year talking about the same thing, waiting for the same answers, waiting for the police, waiting for permits, and it's just not gonna happen. And I know, things here just do not move quickly at all. So,
Can't deny that.
okay, good. Well, I understand. So, you made a motion. If anybody wants to second it, fine.
And I'd just like to say also, I'm not 100% sure, but I think in the ordinance for overnight parking, it does reference you can call the police if you need an exception. I don't know that that's in this ordinance as we're gonna pass it right now.
That would be for any street, whether it has a sign or not. You're notifying the police.
No, what I'm saying for this ordinance on these streets, if people say, hey, I have a contractor working and I need an exemption from it, if it's not in the ordinance, can they request that exemption?
I don't think it's in any ordinance that we have.
No, I think it is in the overnight
If you wanna
parking, that if you call the police, you can do it for up to 3 successive nights.
Okay,
I think,
I
I'm not
didn't read it, so I
100%
don't know,
sure.
but
Yeah.
if you say it's
I
there,
was
it's
actually
there.
just looking at the ordinance, and I don't think it's expressly written in the ordinance.
No, okay. I stand corrected.
Okay,
I don't know that
so
for
let's, do you want to continue with your motion?
No, 1 second, so.
Okay, so we'll make motion to adopt ordinance 1709 at second reading by title.
So moved.
Councilman Calamari.
No.
Councilman Casio.
Recuse.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes.
Council President Bruno.
Yes. Are we in, Ken? Are
Is
we
this-
good with that?
3 is good, yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
Ken, does this pass immediately?
No, you gotta pass a resolution to make it.
Oh, are they doing that?
She has one, if she wants it.
Are you doing an emergency one?
Are you doing an emergency
You're
resolution?
gonna pass an emergency resolution to make it effective immediately?
Yeah.
If you want to, Sue has.
Is this?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Resolution 17-261, emergency resolution for ordinance number 1709. Do I need to read this?
No.
No?
But
No.
Yes.
Ken,
It's making it effective.
No,
It wasn't posted.
I would read it,
It wasn't posted, you better read
but
it.
you know what?
Read it.
Whereas NJSA 40:69A-18 1B provides that an ordinance may take effect less than 20 days after final passage and approval if the Township Council shall adopt a resolution declaring an emergency and at least two-thirds of the members of the council vote in favor of such resolution. And whereas the Township Council of the Township of Washington has determined that an emergency exists in connection with the improvements authorized by Ordinance 17-09, and that such emergency, as well as the general welfare of the Township of Washington, would be served by having ordinance number 17-09 take effect less than 20 days after the final passage of approval. Now therefore be it resolved that the Township Council of Township of Washington, that ordinance 17-09 shall take effect immediately pursuant to the law upon the adoption of this resolution by at least two-thirds of all the members of the council, Township Council.
Can I ask, what does this basically makes it effective this year? If this is not passed, the effective date is 20 days out?
Yes,
So it's still effective?
before school starts.
Okay, just making.
But just gives more time to
Okay, so I have
implement
a
it.
motion for 17-261, emergency resolution for ordinance number 17-09.
I'm going to change that number to 275.
Okay?
What is it?
17261 will be 17275 for the emergency.
Okay. So we make that change. May I have a motion, please?
Excuse me, Bob,
Yep.
since school doesn't start yet before the 20 days, what makes this an emergency?
Because we're voting on it to get it in, so we don't have to wait again, so.
But do we have to have a reason to say it's an
You know,
emergency?
if there's a two-thirds vote, it's can be
Okay.
treated as an emergency.
Okay.
We've done it before.
All right, so make that
We
motion?
can get the signs up.
I think that's what makes it emergent, is they want to have time to put the signs up.
So
instead
moved.
of rushing.
Second? Anybody?
Second.
Second, okay. Go ahead. Roll. Sue?
Councilman Calamari.
No.
Councilman Casio.
Recuse?
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Omen.
Yes.
Council President Bruno.
Yes.
No good. It's not a-
You
not a
would-
valid-
He
you need-
recused himself, so does it count?
You still need 4 votes.
Yeah, if he recused, he only had
4 votes.
two-thirds of the council,
I
so
think 4 votes.
he recused.
I see 4 votes.
Okay, no, I'm just asking.
Be back in a minute.
Okay.
I would hope giving DMF this much notice, they can block the time out right after the 20 days.
The motion
But
didn't pass,
I just don't see this.
so it'll go into effect.
Well, it's not even
instead of tonight.
installing them, they're buying them.
Nothing moves in 20 days in this town. Adoption for second reading ordinance number 17-07, an ordinance establishing Township of Washington anti-nepotism policy. Resolution number 17-259, authorizing second reading and opening a public hearing for ordinance 1707. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calamari.
Yes.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Omen.
Yes.
Council President Bruno.
Yes. Is there anybody in the public that would like to address the council regarding the anti-nepotism policy? I see no hands. May I have a motion to close public hearing for
So
ordinance
moved.
1707?
Second.
Councilman Calamari.
Yes.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Omen.
Yes.
Council President Bruno.
Yes. Motion to adopt ordinance number 1707 at second reading by title?
So moved.
Second?
Councilman Calamari.
Yes.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Omen.
Yes.
Council President Bruno.
Yes. Ordinance number 17-08, an ordinance amending the firehouse parking lot regulations. Resolution number 17-260, authorizing second reading and opening a public hearing for ordinance 17-08. Can I have a motion, please, to open?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Would anybody like to address the council?
I'll be brief. I know it's going to be a long night for you guys. Fred Getz, 587 Washington Avenue. I just, again, didn't have the opportunity to review this ordinance because I couldn't find it on the website, but now I know where it is. Next time I will call. If you could just explain this ordinance a little bit, because I wasn't sure, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't know if it had anything to do with commuter parking or anything like that, because there is a commuter parking shortage and obviously a parking issue on adjacent streets because of it.
The bottom line, we have 35 spots. We will be selling 35 permanent spots for $200. This will be your spot for the year.
Okay.
No more selling 70 tickets and having multiple complaints and sending police down there for argument. Now you will have a permanent spot for a year.
Okay.
Yeah, we oversold this parking, so it just didn't make sense.
Okay.
Tom worked pretty hard on this one, so, and Sue.
Fair enough. I would just ask that as per my previous comments, you take into account that we are short commuter parking. I think it's every year. And if we could look into some alternatives, I don't know if it's been discussed about the Red House, what kind of income that brings in versus opening up more commuter parking, anything like that. But just in the future, I hope you take that into consideration, that we have a shortage, and just continue to address it. And thank you for your work on
I don't think the Red House income is a factor of decision-making.
I don't know, but I just hope that
money to do that.
I know you have a lot of issues to discuss, but thank you again for your time.
I just had one question. Is it literally a sign, so permit number 1 gets spot number 1? And
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Anybody else? Motion to close public hearing for ordinance 17-08.
So moved.
Second?
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Motion to adopt ordinance number 1708 in second reading by title.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Okay. I guess we have, does anybody want to take a break?
Yeah.
Funny you should ask. Way to clear a room.
Sure took a break at 8
Allow
o'clock.
people, okay.
They took a break and they went home.
We are now on introduction, first reading, ordinance number 17-10, an ordinance under Chapter 55 of the Code of the Township of Washington, setting forth the rate of compensation and manner of payment of employees and certain independent contractors in said municipality for the year 2017. This, I guess, is the salary ordinance, AKA, yeah? Motion to introduce and pass ordinance 17-10 at first reading by title. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
I just had one question on it. I'm just getting to it, if you can indulge
Motion
me.
it, and then you can talk about it.
Okay.
Well, what's motion and second? Is this discussion? Motion second, we did it, yeah, you may discuss now.
Under Department of Recreation, it just says teen program, $11.15 an hour. A program doesn't have salary, so I'm just curious what position that is in the teen program.
There's somebody who has to be at the Friday Night Teen Center in Westwood. We have an obligation under that contract to have somebody that we pay.
We pay.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead, Sue.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Resolution number 17-262, authorizing publication of ordinance number 17-10 and schedule public hearing. Motion, please?
Motion.
Second?
Councilman Calamari.
Yes.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Elman.
Yes.
Council President Bruno.
Yes. Ordinance number 17-11, an ordinance imposing a fee for issuance of replacement animal license tags. Motion to introduce, this was $2, you said?
Before we introduce it,
Yeah.
Motion.
No, we have to motion and second. and
Second.
then- Okay, we got that, so now we can discuss, go ahead.
To process a payment of $2 probably costs,
5.
probably more than that. Are we only allowed to charge the fee for the physical license?
You could do more, I would think, but then again, if you've already registered your dog because they've been with the rabies and all that stuff,
You're changing the
paying
number.
Yeah.
You're changing basically the tag number.
Yeah.
Does everybody have
You
them?
could if you wanted
Does
to.
everybody have the mics
Change
back
that.
on?
Is
All the
there a cost
microphones?
for the tag?
All the
Yeah,
microphones
it's on.
back on?
It's on.
No.
Yes.
There now.
Now they are.
Is there a cost for the tag?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, to me, if we want to get back to the cup of coffee, $2, I just feel that if we're going to process it, I mean, can they pay by cash? Can they pay by check?
Yep, cash or check.
I mean, if they pay by check, how many people have to handle that? I mean, I just feel that, I don't want to stick it to pet owners, but I just feel that $2 at that point, are we really gaining anything? The overhead to actually process that, should it be more?
What's the overhead, Mike? Because it's not, do you go through every tag that you have? You distribute every one for the year? How many do you get?
Right now, we're at 803.
You get 803, and what do you order in the beginning of the year?
900,
900, okay.
and we're gonna be close to it, I think.
With lost ones?
Because we still haven't heard from the animal control on the violations that have not registered, and that'll probably be about another 20 or 30.
Okay, so if you have to go out and, let's say we ordered 800, we get our violations back and there's 200 undocumented, you'd have to buy those anyway, right? For a first registration. So you can order another 200 or another 100 if you're over. You're ordering them anyway.
Right, but when you order them as a bulk,
Right.
is where, of course, you get the better price and everything in front, and instead of ordering at the back end where you're gonna end up having to pay a higher
All right,
rate.
so, well, let me ask this question. When you order them in your office, how do you determine how many you order? From last year's receipts?
Yes.
Okay, and then you put, do you do an overage for
Well, this
X?
past year, we knew we were getting close to 800, so we
Okay.
said, let's go for 900.
Okay.
So, Steve, it's not the cost of the actual tag.
I understand that.
It's the cost of, if they come in, they lose a tag, we give them another piece of metal.
Right.
They write a check for $2.
Right.
That check for $2 has to go to Sue. You have to,
Then it goes to finance, goes to the bank, and then.
to find it, it has to be, I mean, the cost of processing that lost tag is way in excess of $2 for people's time and effort. And my only point is, at $2, I mean, why not just give it to them?
How much is a tag?
Well, that's what we've been doing, we've been giving it to them, and.
I'm okay with that.
But I have to still put it on my report, so it just kind of makes it a little easier that has a number where it could be a replacement tag.
Government is not supposed to be a profit-making entity.
No,
which
but it's not
it
supposed to be
happens- No, it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to break even. The township has never broken even. It's always had a profit at the end of the year.
All right.
And you know what, Mike, to tell you the truth,
No, we can leave it.
I'm just kind of tired of it.
We'll let people vote.
So about how many replacement tags in a month, a year, any feel for
We've
what
done
we're
about,
talking
we've
about?
only done about 10. Yeah, it's
So
not
we're not
a
gonna
lot.
get rich or poor off of any of this?
No, we're not,
Okay.
no.
You're not- if you're processing 300, then it's an issue. For 20 tags a year? How often do they fall off?
Like, it's not even something, well, falling off, and it's amazing what people tell you when they.
Oh, I know.
It's,
I've had the,
you know.
The dog ate my tag?
yeah, I lost the dog's tag for 2 months. It was in the couch.
Can I ask a question?
Found it.
What do other towns charge for dog licenses and things like this compared to us?
I have heard through animal control that we are one of the lowest charging ones. We have the ability to go up to, I believe it's $18 for dogs or $20 for dogs, and we only pay $10 for dogs. So, and speaking to Tyco, who is throughout the area, you know, she said, everybody else charges for a replacement fee, but you guys, she says, start getting with the program. She said, your fees are low. I said, well, I said, from what I understand, it's been addressed, but as a council, you didn't want to address that. So I said, well, if we do baby steps, start in one spot and move our way, but would I'd
Okay.
rather see New York
It's
change everything at
a
once.
$2 ticket here, so why don't we make a vote?
All right.
So we did a motion and second.
Motion and second. Councilman Calamari.
This is to approve it?
Well, introduce him. Introduce him.
It's introduction.
advertise it.
Oh, introduction.
Next
I'm
time
sorry.
we can-
Yeah, yes.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
No.
Council President Bruno.
Yes. Resolution number 17-263, authorizing publication of ordinance 17-11 and schedule public hearing. Motion?
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Calamari.
Yes.
Councilman Casio.
No.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes.
Council President Bruno.
Yes. Ordinance number 17-12, an ordinance under Chapter 55 of the Code of the Township of Washington, setting forth the rate of clothing allowance of officers and firefighters of the fire department in said municipality for the year 2017. This says, okay, motion?
So moved.
Second.
No, Tom, you have to recuse yourself.
Oh, that's right.
You're out, Tom.
All right. So
Thank you
Peter-
for
Peter will
reminding me.
second.
Yeah.
So this is, hold on one
Right,
second. So
okay.
this says allowance of officers and firefighters. Is this, and then it says of the fire department. So this is all just fire department? No officers of police here?
No, it's the officers and firefighter, it says of the Township Fire Department.
Yeah, I'm saying, this is just fire department.
Yes.
No
And
PD
it's-
or.
Yeah,
And just so
okay.
you know, it says officers because there's certain
Officers.
They get it
amounts
different, yeah.
stipulated to if you hold an office. And one
Okay.
other thing, if I might, since I added language this year that did not appear in prior years to specifically address the audit comment, and it says that anybody who's a paid employee shall also be paid this amount through the payroll system, which was one of the audit comments we have to address.
Okay,
That was one of the 5 in that memo?
5?
5.
5 that they wanted immediate
Should be so
rectification of.
lucky.
There was a memo that
There
was
was
sent out.
22.
Yeah.
The state.
Oh, I know. You guys got that too?
Yeah.
I'm glad you did because, I CC'd you guys. Yeah, that was one of them that had.
You sent it to me.
No. I was just thinking, I didn't realize it got to you so quickly, so I'm
I
glad
actually
it
read
did.
my email today, so
No, that was one of them, but we had planned to do this anyway, right away.
but I'm
Yeah.
saying it's one of the 5 that they wanted addressed.
Yeah, yeah.
pretty readily.
Last year, we had an issue with trying to get receipts and all that, you know.
Okay, Sue?
Councilman Calamari.
Yes.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Recuse.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes.
Council President Bruno.
Yes. Resolution number 17-264, authorizing publication of ordinance number 17-12 and schedule public hearing. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Councilman Calamari.
Yes.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Recuse.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes.
Council President Bruno.
Yes. Just trying to see how many we have here, okay? Okay.
They're big titles, too.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Ordinance number 17-13. An ordinance of the Township of Washington, County of Bergen, and State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 239 of the Township Code entitled Land Development, Chapter 238 of the Township Code entitled Housing Trust Fund, and Article 17 of Chapter 5 of the Township Code entitled Municipal Housing Liaison, to address the requirements of the New Jersey Fair Housing Act and the New Jersey Uniform Housing Affordability Controls as they pertain to the compliance with municipal affording housing obligations. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
So Ken, before we go, can you just,
Okay, basically, all these ordinances are implementations of the settlement and the housing element and fair share plan that was already adopted by the planning board. So these are the steps that all have to be taken. The liaison is somebody who's gonna do reporting requirements.
Okay.
There's overlays, other ordinances are overlay zones, development fee ordinance. The only ordinance that's not in here is the ordinance with respect to Franklin Court, which I'll talk to you about in
Closed session.
closed session. There is a
Closed
closed
session tonight or
yes.
next week?
There's a closed session tonight. We have Paul Azzolina coming tonight.
You better work faster, Bob.
I'm trying.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Okay.
So,
All right, so
and he's gonna be coming at the next meeting, when you're at the September 11th. He'll be here, he can answer all questions, but I'm just asking, just introduce him, get him published, and get him listed, and then we'll move ahead.
Okay.
These have all been
Looked at.
not only written by you, but they have Stan's input as well as the special master?
Okay, they're written by Stan, looked at by me, input by the special master, sent out to Fair Share Housing. We didn't get any comments back from the special master about this. Now, that doesn't mean she may not have a few, but we didn't get any back in time, and she knew what our schedule was for introduction. She did comment on our plan, which was placed before the planning board, and these really implement that. The ordinance that needs a little bit of attention is the other ordinance on the Franklin Court development, but these have input from the people who we need to have input from.
Okay.
Sue? I think we,
Councilman?
go ahead.
Sorry. Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Resolution number 17-265, authorizing publication of ordinance number 17-13,
So
and
moved.
schedule a public hearing.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Ordinance number 17-14, an ordinance of the Township of Washington, County of Bergen, and State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 239 entitled Land Development to impose a mandatory affordable housing set-aside requirement on new multifamily residential development. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance 17-14 at first reading by title.
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Resolution number 17-266, authorizing publication of ordinance number 17-14 and schedule a public hearing. Motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Ordinance number 17-15, an ordinance of the Township of Washington, County of Bergen, and State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 239A of the Township Code entitled Development Fees to update provisions associated with affordable housing development fees. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 17-15 at first reading by title.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Ordinance number 17-16.
Oh, 17-267, please.
Resolution.
Resolution?
Resolution number 17-2, I was pushing it, huh?
Sorry,
All right. Resolution number 17-267, authorizing publication of ordinance number 17-15 and schedule a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes.
Can't speak any faster.
Ordinance number 17-16, an ordinance of the Township of Washington, County of Bergen, and State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Article 6 entitled Class O.R. District, OR District, and the Township of Washington zoning ordinance establishing the requirements for an affordable housing overlay district in accordance with the adopted housing plan element and fair share of the Township of Washington. Motion to introduce.
So
Number
moved.
17-16.
Second.
First reading.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Resolution number 17-268, authorizing publication of ordinance number 17-16 and scheduled public hearing. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Ordinance number 17-17, an ordinance of the Township of Washington, County of Bergen, and State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Article 6 entitled Class AA District of the Township of Washington zoning ordinance, establishing the requirements for an affordable housing overlay district in accordance with the adopted housing plan element and fair share plan of the Township of Washington. Motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Resolution 17-269, authorizing publication of ordinance number 17-17 and schedule public hearing. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Individual resolutions, none. Consent agenda. All the following items have been determined to have the unanimous consent of the council will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed from the consent agenda. Resolution 17-270, Resolution 17-271, Resolution 17-272, Resolution 17-273, Resolution 17-274. Have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions from anybody?
I have a question.
You do?
Yeah, on 274, what's the date that they're due? Madam Mayor, do you have the date?
I think she said the 31st.
The 31st?
8:31.
Okay.
Right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, 8:31.
The extension for taxes, 8/31?
That's all.
That's it? What's this, the performance surety bond, Mary Ann?
Well, that's not me, but I can tell you that generally what it is,
It's a release of a performance guarantee or a maintenance guarantee because all the work that's been done has been inspected and been approved. And this
So
one's-
we're releasing?
This-
They're
yeah,
releasing
performance,
their-
yeah,
Okay.
was on the other engineer
Okay,
recommendation.
okay. Sue?
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Adjournment to conference agenda, motion?
So moved.
Second.
Where is it?
How come that?
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes. Okay, so moving right along to the conference agenda. We start off with alternative property. I think that's what you said, Peter, but that's what I put down.
Actually, it was alternative
God bless you.
to property acquisition, just to give everyone a little better idea. As we all know, we were talking about acquiring a piece of property, somewhat costly. Councilman Sears and I then decided to look at how we were using our existing properties and, came up with maybe something, a better option instead of acquiring property. So without going into a lot of detail, what we thought of was rebuilding the firehouse from scratch, because that building doesn't owe us anything, and also moving the ambulance into that building to be a total volunteer emergency services building. Obviously, it would have to have the proper traffic signals installed as part of reconstruction to allow them entrance and exit based on emergencies. But I don't now speak for me instead of Tom. The town in the past, when it's gotten involved with the real estate business, hasn't done so well. We acquired the VFW property, ended up giving that away virtually. The red house we bought, I don't know how many years ago, never put that to use. I'm leery of buying a property, an expensive piece of property, for questionable space needs when, a solution like that exists. We can take the red house at this point, make it a much bigger, nicer building, We could probably also get a few more commuter spots out of it in the future. We spoke to very limited people in each department who said preliminarily they didn't see anything wrong with it, with the concept of doing that. And also, I'd like to get moving on.
So I'm sorry, you have meetings with department heads, just so I understand?
No, just some of the volunteers, no department heads.
Okay.
And it was a handful.
I think some of the volunteers called us because they were told that they were gonna get this building for their purpose and this building for their purpose.
And, I'd like to keep this moving along. I mean, we have full agendas and like that, but, I'd like to move that along. Also, if we move the ambulance corps, it gives us enough room maybe to give the DMF a little additional space that they might need as part of when that reconstruction happens. I believe someone said that Bill suggested they could use the ambulance headquarters for their office space, and thereby decreasing the price of a new building. So I'd like to, in addition to making these suggestions, not this evening, but either move this along or move other ideas along, because our volunteers and our workers at the DMF deserve better than what they're getting now. And, I think we should have a plan in place for the beginning of the year, but let's do all the research and talking about it now in this year, so we're ready to hit the ground running next year.
I just want to tell everybody that the Bethany Church was sold last week, so it's a moot point.
Yeah, I think that's too bad. I mean, I think the vision was to use that building for other needs, get the ambulance corps out of the ambulance building, move some of the DMF people into the ambulance building, knock the DMF building down, build a shelf for the trucks, and, but anyway, it's a moot point, so I guess we can put this on the agenda down the road. The red house is an issue. You're saying knock down the firehouse. We haven't even dealt with the DMF building yet, which we allocated money for, so I think there's a lot on the plate. We can't do DMF until we get Quest. So, unfortunately, I don't disagree, that might be an option, but I think we have to look at these buildings first before we even look at the firehouse to knock down. And you said we don't do well in buying real estate, so we're buying a red building, a red house, which that'll probably fall apart too, so.
We own it.
We already own that.
We own that already.
Right, okay.
Madam Mayor,
Then we have to knock
I have
it
a question
down.
for you. Do we own the property directly across from the firehouse?
Across from the
Across
firehouse?
from it, yeah. We don't own that, right?
No. It
We-
belongs to the,
Yeah, there was an
condo.
old building there, they knocked it down several years ago, but we don't own that. Who owns that, do you know? A private?
You mean the empty piece there?
Yeah, the empty piece.
You buy the townhouse.
They own it, okay.
Okay, so I think, Peter, we definitely need serious discussions about all these buildings.
Right.
Again, the DMF, the firehouse, the red building, the monument, the ambulance. I'm not even sure if we own the ambulance building. I still haven't found that out. Do we know? Is there a deed? Is there a title? Huh? Ken? Do we know if we own the ambulance building?
Yes, no, we don't, the ambulance corps does.
The ambulance does.
Well,
So how can they
there's a
mention
possibility
it?
that they leased it.
They leased it
for
No,
dollars.
there was a
Okay.
deed, we got the deed.
Oh, so the ambulance owns that building?
Yes.
Okay, well, now we know that.
But
Okay.
I think there's a reversion clause if they don't use it for that purpose, then it
Right.
reverts back to the town.
Okay.
But if they don't,
Mr. Bruno?
Yes, sir.
If we do consider moving fire and ambulance together, I can tell you for a fact, there's big grants coming out. Talking to one or two grant writers, we should start planning what we want to do now. And,
Agree.
And I'm willing to work on it and keep the whole council fully, abreast to it. But to miss up an opportunity, we gotta have most of our paperwork in by March for the fire department. So,
Okay. So you're going to a grant person?
I've been talking to a grant writer, getting ideas, and she's been very kindly enough to guide me through procedures.
Okay.
Who was that? Who you talking to?
So I think the whole issue of these buildings, I mean, we should, maybe, does that have to be in closed session, Ken?
I'm sorry.
If we want to talk about
Yeah, you
buildings and
should.
strategy?
Yeah, strategy,
Okay, so-
techniques.
So let's plan on a closed session meeting for all these buildings once and for all, and just,
Ken, I'm sorry to disagree. We have to be in closed session to talk about,
Strategy and tactics, but
no, but the property's already sold. We're not talking about that property anymore.
No, I'm saying for new, what are you talking about?
planning on
the firehouse, the ambulance, moving them, the red
Yeah,
house.
just move.
That's public.
That's open.
Yeah.
Nothing.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, no, I thought you were talking about buying property.
Okay. How much did they sell it for, do you know, Janet?
No.
Okay. Shame. That was a good piece of property to lock up, so. Okay,
So
yes, Mike.
the work that Mr. Calamar and Mr. Sears did,
Yeah, they're very good.
are we looking to convert some of that and ask a professional to assist us with that, or are we going to move forward with their assessment?
Well, I would, if I can answer that question, I would say what Tom and I did with the two departments was extremely informal. So us as a council should see if that's something that they are amenable to, for the ambulance corps to move into a new building and for the firehouse to share quarters with them.
They wouldn't want to move into a new building.
They indicated that the lease on the existing one wouldn't be a problem if they were able to move into a new state-of-the-art building. So if we're going to go down that road, I would suggest we reach out to them in a more official capacity to start with to see, if they agree to that concept, and then go from there as far as, getting professionals in to come up with cost estimates and like that.
Well, I guess there was at one point, I believe, the mayor provided us with a proposal to have an assessment done of the buildings and the functions that are done within those buildings. I don't know if that's moved forward. It just seems that to rebuild a larger building on the busiest street in town, probably one of the most valuable pieces of property that the township owns, or one of the more valuable pieces of property that has contiguous frontage to a main street. It's great that we're discussing, or would like to discuss, building a new building, but I think if we're going to truly, make this assessment, I think we need to make the assessment in light of, moving off of that space and seeing if there's other space in town that we can either acquire or we own that can be used more efficiently, and possibly sell that land. I mean, it's very valuable land. It's at a intersection of two major county roads.
Well, I mean, it would be good to, well, again, this is something that has to be discussed at length. It's not gonna, for tonight, but I would prefer to get the fire department, the ambulance corps, off of Washington Avenue and get them onto Pascack Road. I think it would be better, a lot easier, because they can never get out of there. People don't let them out. The fire trucks have a problem. I think that's a drawback for that. And
Well,
I think
it's a drawback because we refused to get the county to put the traffic lights up. Once those traffic
Tom,
lights
let me
up,
finish
it's
what I
not a
was saying,
problem.
please. Let me finish. I just think that it would be better for them to be on Pascack Road. Okay, that was just what I was thinking of. We can look at all the options like we always do, okay? But I think that it is a valuable piece of property for someone or something. But I think that, just discussing it tonight is not going to give us an answer. And I think that we need a little more time to look into this option that Peter brought up. I am disappointed that we didn't get the other building, because I think that gave us quite a few options, even with fair share and things like that. So I'm just gonna wait for the study to get done. and
I mean,
then-
honestly, I don't think we can, I mean, I think we all have great ideas and things that we want to do and not do, but somebody really has to come in, you know, speaking for myself.
Well, I'm moving forward with the
I
study.
mean, we have to look at the infrastructure, this, you know, we've talked about it for a year and a half. We need to look at these buildings. We have a DMF building that's collapsing. I've never been in the ambulance building, maybe that's good news, I don't know. I've been in the firehouse, the red building's there. We have options all over the place, but I don't think we're, again, nothing against us, I don't think we're savvy enough to understand how everything will fit in and where we can put these things, and definitely know all the ramifications. And if we put the firehouse on the ambulance, I don't know if the county, Tom, will put up signs and lights and, you know, I mean, the road is horrendous there, so.
Well, you have to
you
do
know,
the intersection.
Yeah, all these things have to be
done-
looked at,
done
so I
first.
think we need to, again, have somebody do a study. and-
I'm moving forward with the study that I have, the proposal.
Okay.
And let me just clarify, I don't think that piece of property that the firehouse is on is as valuable as you may think, because you're not gonna, the only place, the only value it would have was commercial. People usually don't like to buy residential homes on a major street, especially next to a major intersection, so I think the value is not that great, to be quite honest with you. You know, it'd be really great if we had a centralized location in the town so our volunteers can get there, because my neighbor, a young man, he's a volunteer firefighter. He runs all the way across town to get to the firehouse whenever there's a call. You know, again, central location is, you know, like the spokes of a wheel, that would be fantastic. But I don't see any properties that I know of that would fit that bill in the township. Though the location of the old Bethany Church was really a central location, but obviously that's off the table right now. So, you know, they say location, location, location.
Again, I just think we need to have somebody that's a little bit more savvy and
Oh, yes,
professional.
I agree.
So,
Yeah, and just one more quick comment. The people that live by the firehouse are used to having the firehouse there. Were we to move it to the property we were discussing, you know, we would have been creating a lot of headache for people that did not expect that kind of use there. So that was something else in the mix.
the firehouse wasn't going there, though. That wasn't the intention. But at any rate, it's a moot point, so we should get somebody to
Let's
look
just
at what's
keep it moving
happening.
along.
Yeah, let's keep moving along, because we're going nowhere with it.
Yeah.
So, okay, so the next point I had was Prospect Street, which we discussed, but actually, where'd Mr. Hazelina go? He left.
He and Ken ran out to the hall
Yeah,
first.
I think, I'm not really sure about our overall sewer grid system, and I know it's 40, 50 years old, but this is something I think also should be on the list to look at. I don't know how it works, I don't know who we talk to.
I think by law, we're required to do an evaluation, and actually, Mr. Bloomling, who passed away, had.
Who?
Mr. Bloomling, we replaced him with Keith Dury. He's our sanitary sewer operator. I don't know if he's had any luck, but I have been asking the Azalina firm for a year or so to turn over the drawings, and they have refused to, so I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I don't know if that's since changed, if they've turned them over, but we need those maps. They're ours.
It's property of the borough.
Is he owed any money? That's the only reason I could think why he would.
Well, even if
No.
he was, he can't withhold them, unless he is
That's
owed
fair
money
enough.
for the maps.
No, he's paid right on time.
Who are we talking about, Azzalina Fury?
Yes.
So why can't we get maps?
Well, I don't know, maybe that's since been resolved, but Mr. Bloomling, they would not turn them over to Mr. Bloomling for some reason.
So why don't we put a formal request in and tell them we want the maps?
I emailed.
You did?
Yes.
I'll ask.
Have our attorney send them.
Maybe that's what they're talking about.
I'm all seriousness about that. Okay, so anyway, that's something I think we should look at too.
He's had enough. He's
Have
had
a good
enough.
night.
You're on TV like everyone else.
There you go.
We're going into close.
It's called a home office. Don't leave.
Okay, so.
He's got enough to write on already, I saw him making notes.
The last piece here was other open items, so
What about the zoning board vacancies?
where is that?
That's number 3
That's
on the list.
important, you know.
That's on my official one.
Okay. What about them?
I make a suggestion that maybe we call the people that asked to be on it to see if they still want to be on it. I know we picked other people.
Yeah, but a couple resigned, right?
Well, no, I'm
No,
talking
we're talking
about
about last year,
the
people that
new
were.
people
Oh.
to replace them. Just a suggestion, I mean, if they still want to be on there.
I would call them and you get some names, just like we did last
Yeah.
time, you know?
You have to fill them, really.
We're
Did
gonna-
we have to, did we have to advertise this last time or
Well, we
something?
did advertise it on the website, trying to see if there was any members of the
I know, but
community
did
that
we
were
have to?
interested.
Or
No,
we
you don't
just-
have to.
No, okay, all right, so yeah, so call
So
them
you
up.
have, right now you have two
We have two vacant, two permanents
permanent,
and one,
I
and
was
one,
looking at that word. And
what
one
about
vacancy.
did the alternate guy move up into permanent?
No, you can't
They
move
do
them up.
not automatically go.
No,
You
they
have-
do
you have
not
to- you have to
automatically.
vote to have them
Yeah.
reappointed.
They do not automatically
For the
move up.
unexpired term also.
For the unexpired term, yes.
So do we ask the alternate guy if he wants to, or woman, whoever it is, if they wanna move into that spot and then look for another full and one alternate? How does that work?
I would ask.
Yeah,
I mean, that makes sense.
We did?
I mean,
Okay.
since.
He obviously has interest to be an alternate.
Okay, so who does that? I don't know.
Zoning
Our
board
office.
council.
Vince.
Me.
No, I mean.
No, not Vince, I think it's Sue.
I mean, who-
Sue would
Zoning
make
board
the
council
contact.
appoints zoning board.
Okay, so will you talk to the gentleman and see if he wants to move up, and then we have one alternate and one full, and then you'll talk to the people that were there on the list originally? Yes?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so moving on to the last piece here. So what I tried to do on this was, you know, we sit and talk about in a different format, and I sent this to Mary Ann, Madam Mayor, to just try and get all these things down on a piece of paper, and it really goes from maintenance, you know, it goes to capital, it goes to the BMF contract, the Quest contract. So it's a way of just keeping a project tracker, I think Mary Ann called it. I think it's a good tool to look at so that we have something in front of us all the time, and we have dates, and we can see where things are moving, okay?
Just on the open items, I mentioned this to you before. I took engine 43 down to get the two front tires replaced. While I was there, they checked the backs, and the back tires are literally rotting off. There's big chunks. I did get an estimate down there just to cut some time. Those tires have to be replaced, the four rears on engine 43.
So are you doing the purchase orders now?
No, but I drove the truck down there.
You can't.
I drove the truck.
Huh?
It just was an innocent question.
Oh.
No,
It's an
I drove the
innocent
truck
question.
down.
I'm sorry, did I
It came in-
respond?
it
Did I
came-
respond to an innocent question?
Yes.
Inappropriately, I'm sorry.
You overly
I
responded.
That's okay.
apologize, I apologize.
Very aggressively.
I took the truck down to get the tires replaced, and while I was there, they checked them, and he pointed out chunks of the rear tires falling off. So I asked him, while I'm here, could you give me an estimate to replace the four tires? And I brought him back and I gave it to,
Wait, just so you know, I
Let
just
me
want to,
rephrase
this
my
is one of my,
question.
this is one of my concerns about this list. I mean, capital projects, absolutely, you know, no, but the list, like I was, Tom just brought it to my attention during this meeting that he had the estimate, which is great, and thank you for that, I appreciate that. But this is not intended to have every single thing that's going on with every single vehicle, or I hope it's not, because that's gonna be very cumbersome. There's things that are gonna come and
No.
go on and off this list
Yeah.
before the meeting, you know,
Let me see your comment.
you know, there's a lot more going on than that's on this list. So, Tom, if you go through the channels with Pete with that.
Right.
And get it into us, it'll be addressed like we do other requisitions.
I don't have a problem with
Okay.
that. It's just my concern that it's an urgent thing for that first new engine. That
Okay,
you Can't have
that's
rotten
fine.
tires on the back.
And there was another issue we brought up with the door, which we knew about,
Yeah,
and we
that's-
have an estimate, and
Okay.
and it's over in the chief and assistant chief's
Okay.
hands, what they
Bob,
wanna do.
Can I have the
So,
estimate? I get it to the chief tomorrow.
So my question really, until Ken aggressively yelled at me, was
For which I
really.
apologize profusely.
Yeah, I know. So really, there was some emails going back and
No,
forth.
I think the dust is settled.
Okay, so is the, Peter?
It's the same,
Is it back to
same,
Peter?
it's back to the
Okay.
same, but I think with
It's
the
usually a separate piece.
depreciation
4 pages of.
of what's involved.
Okay,
Before that,
that's
see.
fine. All right, so at any rate, does anybody
On
want...
both sides, I should say, not just.
Do we want to look at any of this now? The only thing I think is important...
It's in there.
I'm sorry, time out, gentlemen. So, I mean, there's a bunch of things that I feel are important here, but we have the DMF contract coming up. I know that, negotiating schedule for 8/1 postponed due to remote, so that's being worked on.
I had to go to a funeral, so I had to...
Okay, but that's being worked on then.
Yeah, and it's, or they already gave their ask, so
Okay, and
we're
the
good.
Quest contract can be entered into, okay, 8/13. So that's moving along on, so that'll be signed and ready to go?
No, 8/21 is gonna be reapproved. I did get the paperwork today.
It says it can be entered into as of August.
I wrote that, I didn't, that's what my understanding was. It's up to Sue and Ken on that.
So it's because of pay for play?
Exactly. It's just a matter of approving the resolution at the next meeting, and it's ready to roll.
Okay, corrective action plan will come on next meeting. Stop signs, we have, I'm sorry.
Will the responsible parties for the corrective action plan be available to speak to it?
If you're saying you want Ashley here, I can ask her.
Okay. I
Do
would like
you
that.
want her? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The road program is going to start now, or the weather-wise, or where are we with that?
Monday.
Monday?
Mary Ann, I have a question about the one section actually in front of Councilman Sears' house. That was just paved like within the last 5 years. Why are we doing that again?
It collapsed.
So we're paving the whole?
I don't know, it was, you guys approved the roads.
Sorry.
It was on there.
I understand that, but
I
I'm
mean,
saying why?
It was
you know,
rated of a certain number. Wait, I can tell you what it was rated. So,
They paved it.
You like this one?
It's one of the
Why are
newer,
we
smoothest
paying?
roads in town.
Why are we paying for it, though? If it was due to road...
Well, that's the thing. Again, if
Beach
it,
Street north of Cross
right?
was rated 14.5. We are doing some roads that are rated 15 and 15.25. 14 is worse.
What's the best rate?
Is 18 or 19?
That's the best rate.
So the lower the rating, the worse condition. We're doing, the lowest rated road that we're doing is Colonial, that's 13.75.
Okay, but
Well, I'm just telling you what the
that
current
they might
condition
have
is of it, it's
wrong. I think it's
14.5.
from Washington to Hillsdale. Is that road-
because the road that we're talking about, that was just done 5 years ago. It has a little crease in it, on your neighbor, right? There's a little dip in the.
No, that
manhole,
collapsed and they
right? And
patched
fixed
it.
It's brand new. It's one of the newest roads we have in town.
I-
Why are we doing it?
I'm wondering if it's not Beach Street from Washington down to Hillsdale, because that road is a disaster.
Can you just check on that and actually go out
Instead
and
of being
drive?
north of Cross, being north of Washington?
North of Washington,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let me look at the map.
I mean, they put two new homes there on the corner. and
No,
they-
the red lines are,
Are they going towards Hillsdale?
yes, it's
Because
north.
Oh, it is?
Okay. Well, I think they marked that out with paint.
Okay, it's marked out.
There's
Beach
markings
is not
on.
marked out.
Well, you drive there tonight and see if it's marked.
It is. It's all right.
It's marked across and at the corner?
At the corner. Matter of fact, they.
Which way is the arrows going? Going towards your home?
Past my home, going towards Hillsdale.
So
Yeah, but it's on...
where the arrows are, they're on Cross and Beach, right?
Right,
Okay, and they're going north.
north.
Yeah.
So that means they're gonna pave, you're gonna repave your section that they
Section.
just did.
All the way into Hillsdale. And I
That's
thank you for
okay.
that.
That's okay, yeah. Twice, he gets it twice. I'm on the other side of Beach, I get 0.
They should only be
Well,
doing
you know
this
what?
stuff.
I wasn't here 5 years ago, and you guys all had the list of cluster. It said north of Cross. No one questioned it. I can
Okay.
ask the
Can
question.
you ask the question for me?
Sure.
You know, I'm not blaming you.
Yeah.
I saw the lines
They
in the
should be
street and I
this
said,
one here.
this was just done. So, where's it on there? Is-
No, and I know I generated the list of property owners
Right.
to be notified, and Tom was on the list.
That's another thing that we should do, is make the ordinance, you can't break into a road until 5 years are up.
Let's not get distracted.
That's
right now.
something
Well,
else.
no, I mean,
We
that's
talked
the
about
point.
the moratorium before.
What?
We talked about a moratorium on the
Yeah,
on the
because this
the
is
road.
awful
Yeah.
now.
And I think, did Suez do that road?
Yeah,
They did
that's
that
because the
road.
hydrant collapsed, the hydrant
So just-
leaked and collapsed.
I think it would be silly to do that road again, but just have the engineer look at it, please.
If we go to the capital program,
Capital?
which is the last page. So the road program's moving ahead. Mountain Avenue is gonna start 8/10. Curb replacements, that's done. The chief's vehicle, we know what happened there. We're moving along. So we have this Mason dump truck with the leaf pusher.
The Mason dump truck, he's having a problem getting prices on that, but he's working on it. And the leaf pusher, we're really having problems with getting it.
The firehouse hoses were delivered,
Okay?
the hose replacement.
Yeah, that's done.
I
Compute,
asked just the other day, and they said they were still waiting on one part, and there's a few more parts to get.
what about our
So
computers?
the connectors, but the hoses there.
Well, when I prioritize, the computer thing always gets pushed and buried on my desk, and it's gonna get done. He gave me some options, and I just have to price out.
Who?
price them out.
Dart?
Dart, yes.
Okay, so we're done according to Peter's recommendations pretty much on all this?
Well, it's just a matter of what needs should be replaced. I have to now evaluate what Doug is suggesting we replace things with, and the pricing he has. It'll be done in the next 2
Peter,
weeks.
you need to look at that.
My part
Then
is done as
Janet
far
needs
as
to
I
look
know.
at it.
Okay.
Janet needs to look at it.
Well, I looked at the needs study, but I want a second bid quote for that.
Excuse me.
Okay, so we don't have computers yet? Or we are waiting for a second bid, you said?
No. These are state contract prices. I'm not sure, I told the mayor I'll get her something, and I'm not sure what I don't know that anyone can deny that the computers need to be
No,
replaced.
it has nothing to do with that. Originally, I said I wanted 2 different quotes, and I still would like to have another quote.
But the contract price for the hardware is the contract price for the hardware. It's a state contract.
Well, yeah, we just bought things that were not on state contract because it was cheaper than state contract, so, like this, the sign, the scoreboard.
That wasn't a state contract, but, okay, I see your.
So, I mean, as long as we go below the state contract, we can buy from somebody else.
So when will we have that?
All right, I thought I told you, Bob, I'm sorry, I'm getting tired. I said in the next 2 weeks, it's on my desk, it literally keeps getting pushed off, like, for instance, this chart took precedence over me doing that, so.
It took precedence on all of us.
Yeah, I'm trying to deal with getting the road out, I had a pre-construction meeting today with
Okay,
the
I'm just
ADA
asking.
ramp people.
I mean, that's what I wanted, I spent time
Okay.
putting it together, and I can't fill it out, obviously, but it's just so we can track. We need to track.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought just a
Okay.
couple weeks.
All right.
Bob, I told you about the library fence, that's Food Town.
Yeah, so I put that there only because,
Yeah.
I don't know if we're calling Food Town and telling them to fix it.
They're
Or
aware of
the
it.
manager, I mean, or.
They're aware of it. Laura made 2 or 3 calls to the manager of
Okay.
the shopping center and hasn't gotten anything back.
Okay,
But that whole fence is not the libraries, it's all
Okay.
the
yeah, I know
shopping
it's on
center.
outside, but it's just,
No, I just wanted to let you know, you can get,
okay. Basketball courts, we're waiting, Gardner, bidding. Library's done and paid, that's exciting, but we didn't take it out of the library, oh no, you took the library fund, you reversed that money back. Okay, so I think we should all digest this, please, and, we'll monitor it. I think if we have questions, shoot them out, so we can keep an eye on it. We'll add to it, and hopefully take a lot of stuff off, yeah?
Bob, just, there's 2 line items, stop signs, street signs, and looking at the comments, it says there's not enough in in the budget. I thought we put quite a bit of money in sign budget this year.
we consolidated it to the DPW.
That's what I
right?
thought, and now we're saying there's not enough. in the budget.
We
I'm
put
just
it all
curious
in
where all
one
that
line
money
item,
went.
yeah, we put it in one line item
Yeah.
somewhere.
I think the mayor was concerned about leaving money in for these no parking signs that are gonna have to be erected. And when I say not nearly enough signs, there's hundreds of street signs that need to be replaced. That's why you don't have the money. The comment is it's not nearly enough to replace all the missing street signs, and we need signs for this no parking. So I think the idea was have enough money to get the no parking signs in place, and then if there's money left over, use that for the street signs. But I did identify, after came to mind, I said, oh, I wonder if this could be covered under road program, and I ran it by the bond attorney, and he said yes. So I went back and identified roads in the last few years that we paved, that we still have money in there, and we can, so there's a fair amount of the roads that we can cover, whether it's in this year's program or prior years.
Thank you.
So if it's a road we pave, we can take it from there, but.
Yeah.
But some new signs went up. The road department put up some, but then we had to stop.
Yes, I have a new stop sign to go with my crosswalk sign.
Yeah, we'll put that up.
And I think they have one near Steve's house, they said.
Yeah, they put a
A street
cross sign
sign.
on there, yeah, the Richmond
I
Road
think
sign.
there's kids that cross the school up by you, Mike. I think that's why that sign went up there.
Yeah, they come out of the field, cross the parkway, and then jump across.
No.
So I think, and I've said this, I know we've spoken, Ashley's got to really dig into these reserves and these ordinances that we can pull from, because there's stuff. Okay,
Well, while we're on that subject, can we revisit this once more? Ken, did you not give the opinion that the Republic Trust is not constrained as far as what we can spend it on? That's the settlement from the building. Because
the Republic money, we want to use for the buildings, or we'd like to use for the buildings.
Does it have to be something connected with faulty construction, or for instance, can we paint the police department with money from that?
And tile floors.
Okay, so I have to go back, my recollection, because don't forget that litigation was probably about 25 years
Well, I
ago.
can tell you, there's no paperwork here on it.
That was
and I don't know what happened.
1997.
No paperwork?
No,
We're finding there's a lot of missing paperwork, actually.
and the auditor didn't seem to think there was any restrictions.
I don't think there is, because I think really, basically, it was compensation back to us to get everything done in terms of all the work that had to be done, plus whatever penalties we got from them and things like that. So it really had to do with just that litigation, wrapping up this building and that construction. I don't think there's anything constraining us.
You mentioned that last
I
time.
think I said that I didn't think there was anything.
I mean, I'd like to use that if we can.
Yeah, as I recall, there was nothing in
Okay.
the settlement documents or.
I'm opposed to using the Republic monies to paint anything. That's a maintenance issue.
Yeah, but we're banging it now for plastic tray liners, wood pole extension. I'm
That's
assuming-
for this project right here that's gonna done, because this relates to faulty construction. That's the
It's the
mayor's
same thing happened with
logic.
Hurricane, whatever it was. The roof, part of the roof blew off here.
A color's
It's
been picked,
faulty.
by the way.
You can do
And they
anything.
found out that there was a whole layer missing. That's why it happened. These are part of the things that were done wrong that have to be corrected in the building. And that's what Republic should be used for.
But what we're saying, or what I think we're saying, is that this money is not really earmarked specifically for wrongdoings or construction faultiness, but now that we have $288,000, we can use it for this building repairs, because we don't have a specific restriction on that money. So we can't be, I don't think we want to be banging the taxpayers again for stuff that we're sitting with the fund that we can paint and put floor tiles and do all this stuff. That's
Well,
what
we
I'm
need
saying.
to look into things we have that might be available to us. I'm gonna talk to Ashley, because I don't think it's right to use Republic
Mr.
money.
Brown? Yeah, but I don't know if it's right or wrong. I mean, there's $288,000. If it's free money, then it's definitely right to use. And Ken doesn't feel we're restricted on it, so, it's available to us.
Bob, I have a suggestion. We talk about a building that's been here for almost 30 years now. and we're finding, defects 25 years after it's been built. If I was buying this as a home, I would have a home inspection at this point and find out what the defects are. They have guys that do that, are very good at it. I'm sure Ken knows a whole mess of home inspectors. Well, I hire an inspector, go through the building, and see what's defective at this time. If we find $60,000, $70,000 worth of defects, we take that money and we utilize it to fix the defects. After the defects are done, then if we have monies left over, you can use it for other things that you need to use it for. It's a very simple process. It's logical. Why wouldn't we do
The
that?
drainage issue by the police department, which was never tied into the drainage, that is a defect that we could spend Republic money on.
Yeah, well then,
why hasn't it
then why
been
don't,
fixed?
we're talking about getting professionals to come in and look at properties to use utilizes it in different capacities. We should work on this building first. It is the center of town. Let's find out what the defects are.
Well, it's right here between
Remedy-
the two, yeah.
Let's remedy them, and then what's left over, use it for maintenance, so we don't have other issues in the future. I mean, does that make sense? I think it makes sense to myself. So, anyway, that's just my suggestion.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I agree.
So basically, there's no paperwork, is what you're saying, there's no documents that say whether it's restricted or not?
The documents that we would have had, and I may even have it on my computer, although, who knows, maybe predated the
You have a
computers.
computer,
I
Doug?
can look at
Get out your floppy drive and see if it's on there.
Yeah, it could have been, yeah, but it was
Stone
basically,
tablet.
as I recall, it was a settlement of the lawsuit when we sued the replacement, the contractor under the performance guarantee, and then we got a replacement contractor, so it was all basically just litigation money and not really,
All right.
wasn't bonded, it wasn't tailored for any particular
So you think
purpose.
it's free money?
I think it's available to use.
Okay.
yeah.
If I know Ken, he didn't let any restrictions go on that money.
Okay, I make a motion to go to closed session.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President Bruno?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going, yeah, let me just,